Tale of the tape between the Pikeman Brian Moore and Noah Lahat. By the way, we begin, Jail, with two guys who have been in main events in Bellator.
Yeah, listen, these guys have been there. They know how to fight. I have to tell you, I talked to Lahat earlier today. I was unaware of this, but he missed weight. He missed it by 2 pounds. They took 20% of his purse. He said that was the most expensive cheeseburger, because apparently that's what threw him off, that he had ever eaten. When he's taken on Brian Moore, he's taken on somebody who is young, who is hungry, who does not want to lose it, and who's going to make the most of this opportunity.
A landmark night in Bellator MMA. It begins, as always, with Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Bellator MMA. And to those joining us around the world on DAZN and the Bellator MMA Global app, we welcome you inside WinStar World Casino and Resort as we get the prelims underway now with 3 5-minute rounds in the featherweight division. Introducing first, the blue corner, at 5'8", weighing in 145.4 pounds. His professional record, 11 wins, 6 losses, fighting out of Wexford, Ireland, presenting Brian the Pikeman Moore. And across the cage, his adversary, fighting out of the red corner at 5'9", weighing in 148.4 pounds as a professional. He brings 12 victories, 4 defeats, fighting out of Tel Aviv, Israel, introducing Lahat. And when the bell rings, the referee in charge of the action, Jaron Villel.
On my cue, gentlemen.
We've seen the Pikeman several times before. He was very impressive last time out. He's also fought some of the top fighters in Bellator. Giorgio Belsanti was no match.
Yeah, he's very aggressive is what I like about it. I like when guys go in there, when the referee says, are you ready to fight? And they say yes. I like the guys that mean it.
Here we go, gentlemen. Fighter, fighter, fight!
Those of you watching around the world know the magnitude of this one. Two fighters who have been in main events in different places, in different cards, all around the world. Fight Block brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Brian Moore has 2 losses in Bellator. See him try to get that uppercut in, but Noah Lahat stays strong. And those are to A.J. McKee and Daniel Weichel. Those are high-level competitors. A.J. McKee still undefeated. He'll be back in the Bellator cage pretty soon. Daniel Weichel coming up later on this ridiculous prelim card. I know, Chael, you and I are both very excited about Daniel Weichel and Goichi Yamauchi.
We are excited for different matches, but I know you love that Weichel match, and I certainly don't blame you for it. I will tell you, though, for me,
yeah, Joe Warren and
you
Sean
know where
Bush,
I was going to go. Joe Warren and Sean Bush. All right, now this is interesting. Lahat pushed him across the cage like a Mack truck pushing a Volvo, but now Moore's reversed the position. Moore's looks like he's coming under. If he wants to break, he wants to get out back to the open, see if he can find some more of those uppercuts, and he does.
Many of you know the story of Noah Lahat. He was a paratrooper in the Israeli army.
Boy, Moore is very sharp tonight with these punches. I realize he hasn't landed a lot of them, but he's only thrown a few. His percentage is almost 100% so far, so there's a great jab. Lands again.
Pretty good strikers coming out of SPG.
Yeah, it turns out they know a little something about this martial arts game. That little idea they had there turned out to be a good one. Another good counter hook there by Moore. Oh, and there's that uppercut you were talking about earlier.
Loves coming in with that uppercut.
You know, Uriah Faber used to do that a lot. Come in, change elevation like you're going to shoot. Get your opponent to open up those hands to defend the shot. Boom, come right up the middle. Lahat's going to have to solve this problem. This is where he's been the majority of this round. He's got his back up against the fence. He wants to do what we call trade positions. Put Moore up against the fence. It just looks better for the judges, Sean. It doesn't give you a whole lot of more options with your offense. It looks better for the judges should they have to score this round.
If you choose to wear protection on your left ankle, as Noah Lahat is, that becomes a target. You saw Brian Moore has been going for that from the opening minute.
Good work, Brian. You fired.
Lahat almost, I don't know if it's because of that ankle, you see a little more Muay Thai stance.
Good kick there by Lahat. Moore made him pay for it, though, threw it straight right down the middle. Very good defense. More of a counter offense.
Brian Moore talks about SBG, says, listen, I may not be the best boxer in there, I may not be the best grappler, may not be the best jiu-jitsu player, but the combination of those is what makes me the fighter I am. Good lead right this time by Lahat to set up. He attempted the takedown.
That was an excellent technique there by Lahat, even though it didn't get him what he wanted. He wanted a takedown, but he did a very good job closing the distance, even tripping. TJ Dillashaw does that same technique. Moore was able to keep his balance, but now Lahat's got at least position. He's got at least a position he can work. He's going to try to bring his legs in between. If he can't stay behind Moore, he's not going to be able to finish that. And again, Moore puts Lahat up against the fence and goes right for that ankle.
That's got to be a dilemma of a decision when you're deciding whether to protect something like that.
While peacocking it at the same time,
exactly.
Right? Another good shot there by Moore. Lahat firing back. Moore very light on his feet, whether he's coming vertically, laterally. Another great attempt by Lahat that simply did not work. Moore's got great balance above everything else.
Hands out of that cage.
I would suspect that Moore's going to try to trade positions, and there he goes. Lahat is conceding those just a little bit too much.
Keep it clean, gentlemen. Keep going.
Almost as though he's taking for granted that ultimately,
Time.
should we go another 4 to
Gotta
3
control.
seconds, the judges are going to have to score this. And they like the guy whose back is facing the action, not away from it.
So make him work for it if he's going to.
I think that's right. I think he's conceded a little bit too much. Sometimes a guy will just outfight you. He'll outposition you. He'll out-wrestle you. I don't feel like that's happening. I feel that Lahat is conceding this position to Moore.
Yep.
And while that may not sound like a big deal, Sean, it will be should we go to the decision.
Watch
Mark
the
my
low blows,
words.
right? Control that knee to the groin. Here we go. Fight.
Obviously, you saw the low blow. We spared you the gratuitous replays. One thing we never figured out in MMA, the only timeout you get is after a low blow, thus the most replayed.
Sure. Let's take a look at that again.
One more time. Yeah, we know. We know what's about to happen.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
Look at Moore. Look at Moore. Light on his feet. Stalks him right back down with being safe. That was a bit of an uppercut. Kind of changed it at the last moment. Very effective shot. He's got some good ground and pound.
That was about 15 seconds away from big trouble.
Round break.
Noah Lahat got clipped, but he got clipped very late in the round.
I'm very impressed how he's doing this. And Sean, before you even watch this right hand by Moore, make sure you notice the setup. He's coming in. He always is changing elevation. That's what gets Lahat to react. That's what takes his hands and his defense away. Right there, Lahat's hands are down because he's on defense. Gives Moore that opportunity to come in and touch the target.
I love the balance of Brian Moore on that second shot.
All the way back, gentlemen. You gotta wait
So
till that
we
door closes.
already covered Joe Warren and Sean Bunch. That is coming up on the prelims. We're going to see Joe Schilling on the prelims. We're going to see Chris Honeycutt against Costello Vanstinas. That is a very interesting one on 185. There was a time, another, as they counter left. Same shot caught Lahat early in the first round. Brian Moore is teeing off. These shots are finding a home, and this was a defensive shot by Lahat.
Yeah, Lahat's trying to come back up. He did a great job of recovering. But he certainly ate some leather there.
But Brian Moore has looked sharp.
By the way, I had dropped to you earlier that we also have a very good stand-up comedian. I have been waiting for you to say, who's the comedian?
Gerald Harris.
Doggone it.
Come on, what do you think?
Is there anything that you don't know?
This is my job. What am I, the night watchman?
Yeah, but I
This is
felt
my
like
job.
I had
It's
one
actually
there.
not my job anymore. It's my job a couple of times a year, but still, I'm ready for it.
Yes, Gerald Harris, stand-up comedian. Heck of a fist fighter too, but stand-up comedian. I thought that might be a fun fact for everybody. Everybody except you, Captain Know-It-All.
It doesn't mean it wasn't a fun fact just because I had it.
I guess
Now you can see the damage now that Brian Moore has done. That was inevitable.
Fingers
Lahat
out of
has
that
not
cage.
figured out this puzzle at all.
Here he goes. Good. This is good.
Yes.
Now he might have, Crazy Bob, who we were talking about earlier, his trainer, his cornerman, might have told him in the corner, do not give up this position. Put Moore's back up against the fence. Good adjustment between rounds.
Lahat clearly, he's just looking to close distance right now. All of this is, he's feinting, but he does not want to stand with Brian Moore. He's just looking for his opportunity.
Yeah, of all the big shots that Lahat has taken, I mean, he's been knocked on his keister a couple times in this fight. He's not scared to come back in and try it again, though. I must give him credit for that. He's stepping right back into range, but Moore's footwork is just a little bit too good. There's a good takedown. That's what Lahat was looking for earlier. I like that he attacked the body, but with the legs, he was also getting the trip.
This location is his best chance to turn this around.
Sure, he's down a round, but he's got 2 left. If he can eat up some minutes here.
Brian Moore fought very well against A.J. McKee, took him into that 3rd round, and then he got caught.
Grounded.
You just heard Jaron Vera say grounded, so he knows that's when we see David Rickles later. That was a win David Rickles was about to have. An infamous Bellator moment when he needed a grounded opponent. And it resulted in a no contest. When you see David Rickles fight, as you will later, it will be memorable. Walk out to the fight. Some of you know who've been messing around on the interwebs this afternoon, we have a major fight announcement that we will make official when we go live and free on Paramount later on tonight.
Well, we're really seeing some aggressiveness. Here by Lahat, he clearly knew he lost that 1st round, but he's not willing to give this fight away. There, another one connects. Moore's got to move here. Boy, Lahat transitions to the back. Moore gets that underhook.
Keep working. Don't settle the fence. You got to keep the pressure on. Lean on him now.
Is this still one of the least understood parts of MMA? Good shot for Brian Moore. What goes on the fence? When people think nothing's happening and a world of things have happened.
Very much so. Very much so. It looks like 2 guys are just standing there. I'll tell you who's really innovated the sport is Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's does. I thought I knew that position. Every time I think I know something. Right there. Great trip. That's something that Khabib does. He doesn't just mess with the upper body. He locks you upper body like Randy Couture used to make famous. But then he uses his legs to pull you off that fence. Some of these guys, they do such a good job, Sean, of putting their hips, and this all started with the Brazilian fighters, but they put their hips, Jose Aldo, Anderson Silva comes to mind. They lower their weight. Now all of a sudden, you can't get behind them. There's nothing to grab. So what Khabib, by example, and now we just saw Lahat do it, he just uses his legs, reach in right at the knee, and pull him off the fence.
Had a hook in. You can see where he wants to get it now. So we're going to the final minute of the round. It's been a great round for Noah Lahat.
That's fine.
These are big elbow shots here.
Well, yeah, no, this, I mean, what a difference today makes here. This round is completely opposite of what we saw in the 1st round. We saw the fight almost get stopped in favor of Moore. Now Lahat is getting him some positions where the referee's having to give a good, serious look.
Brian Moore took that gamble because he felt he had to get out of that spot. He was risking putting himself in further danger, which he certainly is here.
Damage.
It's not unusual for a 2nd round to have a slight different feel than the 1st round, but this is dramatic difference here in these 2 rounds. It was Noah Lahat who barely survived round 1. Now it is Brian Moore holding on to survive round 2. And he does.
Good hip pressure right there by Lahat.
Now watch the left hand here. Counter left.
Yes, that's what sent him down. But again, Lahat recovered really well. That is going to count as an official knockdown. And now you look a little bit later into the round, and Lahat's able to time that. He's able to see those shots and everything. He's pressuring forward. He's got Moore on the ropes, if you will, backing up, and he's taking full advantage. I am very confident, Sean, in telling you we're going into the 3rd round 1 apiece.
Yeah, normally be like, well, they might have seen it. No,
It's 1 apiece.
Pretty cut and dry.
Well, you never know what the judges are saying.
Yeah, we know. And
we got it.
And we also know what each has to do to win the 3rd round.
I work and he doesn't want to. Seconds out.
Never been a fight at this level to open a preliminary card in Bellator history.
Keep it fair. Good fight.
This is sort of living up to it.
You can touch gloves, and let's move back for the
We
start
haven't
of the
talked
fight.
about Jordan Young yet. He'll be on the prelims. Undefeated prospect at 205, trying to go to 10-0. Lahat this time knows to close the distance immediately. Nice.
Very interesting. Very interesting how he failed in that same position. He was there 3 times in the first round, failed all 3 times, and hasn't missed it since.
Gave up the position.
Yes.
He's giving it up.
Yes, there is no time to waste. And it could be an endurance issue with Moore. I thought he was playing a little coy in the second round. I thought he realized it started to get away from him, and he was kind of calling it in. I thought he had plenty of energy. And I'm not ready to say that he's fatigued yet, but this would certainly lend to the theory that he's gassing.
You can see on the left of your screen, you see from the overhead shot how that left leg is locked. You can't always see that. You can't see it from here.
Hey, Sean. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I don't know, ask Gerald Harris. He's the comedian, Smarty Pants.
That's your best? You used that on the first prelim?
Well, you know, I'm just kind of getting going here.
All right, we'll see. Come 9 o'clock Eastern, you tune in. We'll see who steals whose gimmick in the open. Okay, let's see what happens then.
Boy, Lahat staying busy. I don't
very
understand
busy.
it. Sean, he was all but hanging in there in the first round. Now he's the one pushing the pace. I really have to give it to him for his heart. And possibly a pat on the back to his corner. They must have said or done something between rounds. This is a different guy. Whoever was here 10 minutes ago is gone. This is a new athlete.
This is a game you're down 14-0, and it turns out to be a blowout win the way it's going.
You know, I'll tell you, the one thing that Moore is doing that I don't love is he is conceding this position. Anytime your hands are locked around your opponent's head, his arm, and you're pulling him in tight, that's to reduce the power of the blows that he can get off. But in no misconception believe that that's going to get you off the bottom. He needs to be digging underhooks, particularly with his left arm here. Starting to come under, free his hips, get back up to his feet. Right now he is just holding this position, which Lahat, who only has to beat the clock at this point, is more than happy to let him do.
You're up 2-0. You can play this differently if you're Brian Moore, but he clearly is not.
So again, right there, his hands are locked. He's pulling his opponent down. Good defense. That's a good defensive position. But you can't play defense when things are tied up one apiece.
Big John taught me one of my first days here. You don't score points on defense. See if Noah can step through here. He's relatively content here, and even in half guard. More sort of a half-hearted attempt, trying to turn out of this. You wonder what he's got left in the tank. That second round really took a lot out of Brian Moore.
Underhook, 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 and it has to be with that left arm. Until you see Moore on bottoms, left arm, dig and underhook, you will know that he is just conceding this position. Right there, again, he comes back over. That's just to pull your opponent down to reduce the power of the shots. But by no means is an offensive attempt. And I'm just sharing that with you, not to pick on Moore, but the psychology of Lahat. If you're on top and you know things are going your way, and you can stay just busy enough to keep that referee off your case to let you maintain this position, all you got to do is let those seconds tick down. So it's incumbent on Moore to force Lahat to go to a different strategy.
Lahat took a bunch of big shots in round 1. He was bleeding. Now he is the one bleeding out the clock on Brian Moore. Pikeman, who once he's only been stopped 3 times, you said, by Caldwell, Weichel, and the only time he was been knocked out in his entire professional career was a fight in which he could have taken a DQ win. He said, no, I want to keep fighting. After getting hit when he was grounded, he said, no, let's keep going.
All right,
ended up losing that fight.
Sean, something interesting here. So Lahat has Moore's hand, and he's got it trapped behind his back. This is a very tough, very hard thing to get out of. You got to free your hand. Lahat will be able to stay in this position all night, as long as Moore isn't able to free his wrist. And it's just very tough. He's got all of his weight of his own body working against him. It's just a very, very tough spot to get out of. The referee's going to have no problem. Yeah, look at that.
Great
boy,
shot.
he could get a submission. If he could hike that even higher, that would be very uncommon. But it is possible. Just a basic hammerlock is what that's called.
Lahat now, he has got a lot of choices from the buffet now with that arm tied up. I don't know if you could have a come-from-behind blowout win, but if there is such a thing, this should be it for Noah Lahat.
Okay, break clean, gentlemen. Nice fight, gentlemen.
You could have a legitimate conversation about that being a 10-8 third round.
Yeah. Doc?
Very possibly that was a 10-8 round even, just from the lack of offense by Moore. Just wasn't able to get going there.
So early in the fight, Ryan Moore, a counter right in the first round, a counter left in the second round, right there. And that was it. And Noah Lahat closed the distance, and that was the ballgame.
Yeah, I think that perhaps Moore thought, hey, we have an agreement. We're going to stay on our feet and slug this one out, and I'm a little bit quicker than you. Lahat, somewhere in the course of this fight, I would argue between rounds, decided, no, I'm going to try to make this a bit of a wrestling match. So you come throw those punches at me, I think I can time them and come underneath. And not for nothing, but Lahat was right.
Michael C. Williams will make it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go to your 3 judges at cage side. Your first judge, Don Turnage, scores the fight 29-28, while judges Jacob Montalvo and Michael Bell both see the fight exactly the same, 29-27. All have it for the winner by unanimous decision, Noah Lahat.
No!
Middleweight was a barren wasteland for a while in Bellator. Now it is getting deeper by the day, it seems.
And I love to look at these guys' records because they're very experienced, but I do think there's something to be said for the fact that Shipman, in over a baker's dozen amount of tries out there, has only failed 1 time.
To Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, we'll go to the middleweight division, set for 3. 5-minute rounds. Introducing first the blue corner. At 6'4", weighing in 183.4 pounds. His professional record, 10 wins, 6 losses. Fighting out of St. Louis, Missouri, Scott Futrell. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner. At 6 foot, weighing in 185.4 pounds. As a professional, near perfect, 12 victories, just 1 defeat. Fighting out of London, England, presenting Michael Seabass Shipman. In charge of the action, your referee, Jason Herzog.
First round, fight, are you ready? Fight, are you ready? Fight!
Fight Clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste at only 96 calories. We read that quick just in case Mike Shipman is off to another quick start like he had last time out. Now his loss that you saw was in his first professional fight. He got knocked out in 69 seconds and hasn't lost since. Futrell tries to get an uppercut in there.
The first fight doesn't count. Everybody knows that. Is that how it works? Everybody knows that. Shipman taking the back here. He's using some of that strength that we usually see in his shots, but now he's using it for his grappling. Futrell not willing to concede.
We're going to see a little wrestling coming up next when Joe Warren and Sean Bunch get together.
Shipman's using a lot of energy here. He's really pushing in. As soon as he gets his hands locked, which he has them locked, now he wants to pull. He wants to pull his opponent off instead of put. It's just simply nowhere to push him, Sean. You kind of got a steel cage there holding him in.
Does that make it a bad place to expend energy?
Yes, it would. Use the energy to get to that position, but once you have a single, you want to pull it, no longer push. And I'm judging his energy. I'm judging his energy for you right now because for some of those big power shots that he has, he needs that energy. There, steps over the leg, very smart, picks his opponent up down to the mat. Good side control. Yep. Shipman's going to want to make sure that that right knee stays close to his opponent's hip. Stopping from being able to recover guard.
Shipman, you can see the experience thought there. He wanted to try something a little risky. He wanted to step over right away. And this, you know what? I'm good right here for now.
A great option for Shipman is take that right knee, bring it right across the belly. He could advance this position to a full mount if he wanted. But again, you'll notice that right knee I'm talking about. Now he's raised it to the armpit, but he's still keeping it very close to his opponent's body. Futrell can get some space. That's where he can start to look to recover. Oh, he's got him in the salvation position here.
How often can coaching, positional discipline like this go out the window when the adrenaline of the bright lights and everything hits you?
Oh, roughly 100% of the time,
exactly.
Yeah. No, it's very tough, and fighters think about that in the back, and their coaches talk to them and try to stay focused and try to be glued into the instruction. Listen, keep your ears open, but it is a hard thing to do. You know, Mike Tyson's the one that said it best. Everybody can have a plan until they get punched in the face.
Scramble, scramble.
Fights have generally been fairly quick knockouts.
Shipman using knees to the head here. That is legal. Oh, he may have this.
Don't let him hook the leg. Don't let him hook the
Little
leg.
darts, little deep.
It's all a matter of the lock.
He got him. He got him.
To finish my thought, if Shipman's lock is on his bicep, he's going to be able to get the submission. If his lock slipped down to the crease of his arm or even to his forearm, he will not have it. Of course, we know the result. Turns out he had his lock, but
How do you set this up?
Okay, watch this scramble right here. He comes to a front headlock, but he distracts his opponent. He distracts him with those knees. He's not really looking for the knees, though, Sean. He's just looking to get his left arm deep enough that he can secure his own bicep. It all comes down to the lock right here, right there. It looks the same, similar as a rear naked choke in terms of what your hands are doing, but it's all a matter of getting all of those fingers. The pinky can't be left out. They've all got to be on the bicep. Then he just brings his hips in nice and close. Futrell simply had nowhere to go, was forced to surrender.
13th straight win for Mike Shipman. His 7th time in the last 8 outings he has finished his opponent in round 1. Quickly becoming a name to make a note of. Michael C. Williams will make it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, the tap comes by way of an anaconda choke. Officially 2 minutes, 58 seconds into round number 1. The winner by submission, Michael Seabass Shipman.
A tale of the tape in a Chael Sonnen dream fight.
All right, I will tell you, the age matters here because these guys missed each other in competition. They were not in the NCAA, even though they're the same weight class. They were not the same years. Joe Warren, 42 years young. Sean Bunch, 35 years old. And I might have to mention this if our cameraman can get a cameo, but this is none other in Sean Bunch's corner, the world champion Daniel Cormier, hanging over the cage, giving him some last-minute advice.
I told you, a lot of star power.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage will go 3 5-minute rounds in the bantamweight division. Introducing first the fighter out of the blue corner at 5'5", weighing in 135 pounds even. Returning tonight to the Bellator cage, he enters with 7 professional victories, 3 defeats. Fighting out of San Jose, California, presenting Sean Bunch the Great. And across the cage, his adversary fighting out of the red corner at 5'6", weighing in 135.6 pounds, a 2-division former Bellator world champion tonight, entering with 15 professional victories, 7 defeats. Fighting out of Monument, Colorado, introducing the baddest man on the planet, Njokuani. In charge of the action, your referee, Carey Hatley.
Jimmy, it's what you work for. You ready? Ready? Go to work.
A lot of respect, obviously, between these two. Fight Clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Joe Warren has fought wars in the Bellator cage. Sean Bunch, the last time we saw him, it's literally been 3 years. And it was a fight, a good shot, good combination from Sean Bunch that put Darrion Caldwell on the map. When Darrion Caldwell not only beat Sean Bunch, his high-level wrestler, but he ankle picked in an explosive, it was wrestling people. Chael went, whoa, this is another level from Darrion Caldwell, and that started his elevation towards the world title.
And I don't know what's going on with this this cross, this right hand of Bunch tonight, but boy, is it fast, and is it powerful, and it's landed 3 times now. Warren's taken it. There's a 4th one. Warren's taken all 4 of them, but those add up.
Joe Warren's chin.
A 5th one, a 6th one.
These are hard shots. Joe Warren has taken big shots from the infamous Pat Curran fight. Obviously been in there with Eduardo Dantas. And tried the level change. Sean Bunch waiting for him.
Sean's connected with a total of 6 of those shots, 7 of those shots. Listen, Warren can do one of 2 things. He's either got to keep his left hand up or he's got to circle to the right. And he's got to do them both dramatically. Big steps to the right, big hand up. Now, this could, Sean, believe it or not, this could be good good news for Joe Warren. Sean Bunch will come out. He will put his foot down on the gas, but sometimes he struggles to do that for 15 straight minutes.
Jump knee, but telegraphed it.
If Joe Warren can weather a storm here, their 8th big right hand. Joe's turning away.
That's it. He turned. That's a defensive posture, and that is a fight-stopping moment, and this is over.
I believe Bunch might have connected in the neck. I didn't see that, but I believe that is what Joe Warren is signaling. Oh, possibly his shoulder. Took a shot perhaps to the collarbone. I'm speculating we'll need a minute. I'm just trying to read Joe's body language. At first I thought he was saying that was my neck. Now I think he's saying it was my collarbone.
Get in there real quick.
But the story of this fight for sure is this straight right hand by Sean Bunch. 8 of them, count them, 8 of them landed. Here it is, he sets it up with a jab, boom, comes right over the top.
Don't move.
See him? He Joe Warren go to the jaw. That was the first time he turned away. He just took big shot after big shot.
Yeah, he's taking them
right there.
Flush.
Go.
Expecting a high-level wrestling match, and you got Sean Bunch coming out like Mike Tyson from the start. He needed a dominant performance to put himself back on the map, and he certainly got that.
Yes, I'm trying to watch the, okay, it is a collar. Just good news, much better than a neck punch. It gets to the collar of Joe Warren, but boy, those were some good shots by Sean Bunch, and he stayed with it. Look, when something works in a fight, you just keep going back to it, whether it's a punch, whether it's a takedown, you stay with it all night long. If it works once, it's going to work again and again in the same contest. That is what Sean Bunch deserves credit for right now.
Just how he visualized it. Congratulations from the champ in his corner. That was as impressive as it gets. Michael C. Williams makes it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, the verbal tap stops the contest officially. 1 minute, 42 seconds into round number 1. The winner, Sean Bunch, the Great.
The return of Stitch 'em Up, Joe Schilling. Legendary performances as a kickboxer. Obviously, he has struggled inside the Bellator cage.
Do not fall for the record of Joe Schilling. Listen, there is MMA sanctioning, there is kickboxing sanctioning, and they don't agree on the records together, but Joe Schilling has been in the ring over 50 times. He just did most of his work in the kickboxing ring. This is a fantastic fighter taking on the undefeated Will Morris.
From Winside World Casino and Resort, we now, inside the Bellator cage, go to the middleweight division, set for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing the blue corner, at 6'2", weighing in 184.8 pounds. His professional record undefeated at 4-0. He fights out of Houston, Texas, presenting Will "The Chip" Morris. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner at 6'3", weighing in 185.8 pounds. The world-class kickboxer as a mixed martial artist stands at 2-5. He fights out of Los Angeles, California. Introducing Joe "Stitch 'em Up" Schilling. And the referee in charge of the action, Mike Beltran.
All right, gentlemen, first round. You ready to fight? You ready to fight? Hell, let's go.
Morris comes flying out of his corner. The fight clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. What in your mind have been the biggest issues for Joe Schilling trying to make this transition?
Well, one of the things is, everybody knows, he's so well scouted, everybody knows you don't want to stand up with Joe Schilling. So if they've come out, they feinted him sometimes they secure the takedown, but when they're able to feint, when they're able to make Joe think they're going to wrestle, that's the same thing as wrestling, and Joe has been suckered a couple of times of dropping his hands. He's eaten a few shots.
Big shots here. Will Morris in some trouble here. It looked like he stopped for a second and kind of snapped back into it.
Yeah, but you see, now Schilling pulled the double cross. He made Morris think he was going to stand up and kickbox with him and turn this into a grappling match. That's very good. Now, Schilling's #1 training partner is our co-main event tonight, Bamba, who is a 2-time world jiu-jitsu champion. So Schilling in the practice room has put a lot of plugs in the boat, if you will. But when he can stay in this range, when he's kickboxing, he is something very, very special.
Now after a great start, now he's back where he's comfortable and even more confident.
Morris doing a very good job. He really weathered the storm there. Now he's moving, he's controlling range. He's staying out of the distance of Schilling. And he wants to do one or the other. Morris either wants to stay back, where Schilling simply can't reach him, or he wants to get it nice and tight and close.
So he's got something going with his right arm. He keeps shaking it.
I saw that as soon as they came off the mat, he was kind of shaking that and moving it around a little bit.
Big elbow thrown by Joe Schilling. Will Morris is in big trouble here early. He's getting stalked right now.
Morris needs to continue to do a good job with the range. Right now, he's getting a little lazy with it.
The arm is sort of hanging.
That's right. He needs to be all the way back, Sean, or all the way in. Don't be in this range right here with Joe Schilling.
23 kickboxing wins, including
Look for an elbow.
title for Joe Schilling.
Joe's setting up
He
a
said
right
he is.
elbow.
Here it comes.
Joe Schilling posting on the right arm of Morris, making it inusable to
The
set
left
the
elbow instead. Far more aggressive MMA version of Joe Schilling.
Morris doing a good job here. This is smart by Morris. He's doing everything right. He should just keep moving. Don't be stationary target.
Big shots. Joe Schilling, you saw just a veteran move from him there. He didn't have the choke and he let it go and went back to what was working. This has been a blowout, as illustrated all over the canvas.
Joe Schilling working ground and pound. Not something we see a lot from him. Not something he's really known for, but he's also done a very good job of maintaining position. Morris has gone for a couple of reversals and a couple of sweeps. He off-balanced Joe just a little bit. Joe was able to adjust his hips. That's proof of practice. That's proof of training. Oh, Schilling looking for a guillotine. Great defense, though. Morris is doing everything right, except this shot. I don't like when he sits still. Don't sit. Right now is the time to keep hustling and keep working.
So much pride in Joe Schilling. He's had to stare at that record. People running that Hisaki Kato knockout over and over and over again. He's waited for redemption inside the cage a long time, and this has been not just a bloodbath, but a dominant performance. All of that blood, none of that blood on Joe Schilling, none of it belongs to him.
Look at those elbows. Boy, those are vicious. Morris with a good shot there. Schilling returns with a cross of his own.
This is unbelievably impressive from Will Morris to be standing here. I don't know how much he's got. Do you even let him go out for the second round if he makes it through?
We're going to have to see if they're able to clean this blood up. It's only something I can answer in hindsight. They're good uppercut. But his heart is most certainly in it, Sean. Morris has by no means checked out. He's still trying to win this fight, but Schilling is just so sharp. You know, elbows and knees are so sharp parts of your body, using that bone. And Schilling, very good. They slice, they cut, they create situations like this.
Oh, elbow, uppercut, back to the guillotine.
He keeps looking at that. You know, Schilling is actually doing everything right. He's got his lock where it needs to be. He's doing a great job pushing his hips in. This is a credit to Morris's defense here. Morris there, he takes a knee. For people watching at home, from this position when the knee is down, Schilling cannot knee. He cannot deliver an offensive knee. That would be illegal. So that's the strategy you're seeing by Morris.
Indication he's still in the fight mentally.
Correct.
The best rounds Joe Schilling has had as an MMA fighter, without question.
Deep breath, deep breath.
All right, this is where this onslaught began. The elbow was the first cut.
What do you mean, speaking of which, by the way? Were we
Salami.
talking about? Oh, salami. I get it, the Italian reference.
Do you even forget what you were saying? If you
Of which
that's what you said?
Sakara being Italian,
No, I was
you
saying
tied
Genoa.
together.
Genoa salami.
What are we talking about? Oh, Joe Schilling here on a highlight, doing some ground and pound.
You got broken. I cannot
And
let you
this
do that.
will
I can't
answer
let you
your
take that
question
out.
you asked
way.
a moment ago.
can't let
We're
you
done.
take that
You
out.
allow Morris
No,
to
you can't
return
fight
to the
with one
second
more.
round, and the answer is no. Morris is now in a
Shoulders
dust-up
out.
with his own
Shoulders out.
cornerman, but that is a credit to the cornerman. You
can't
protect
fight
your
one arm,
fighter
man.
first. Absolutely the right call. And frankly, Sean, to your credit, one you predicted minutes ago.
Courage points, heart points. Will Morris gets all of those, but it made no sense to send it back out there in round two. That was a mauling by Joe Schilling.
He is so good. Hey, listen, there's a reason when we did the tail of the tape that I referenced the record. Do not be fooled by this guy's record. There is more to the story on Joe Schilling. That is the Joe Schilling that I personally know, that guy right there. That's able to control range, keep the fight where he wants, but now when you see him on the ground, you can see that a lot of the credit does go to his training partner, Bamba, who's going to be in the co-main event versus Rickles later this evening, but that's the groundwork, that's the transition, that's putting everything together.
A lot of pride, a lot of fury, and a lot of years. Joe Schilling has been waiting for this opportunity to get back in the Bellator cage.
No, fuck that. No, bro. You're out. You got broken. I cannot let you do that. I can't let you take that beating.
That's a good coach.
I can't let you take that beating.
That's a good coach
That
right
is.
there.
That's what this is all about. Michael C. Williams makes it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage at the request of the blue corner, the fight is waved off officially. 5 minutes of round number 1. The winner by TKO Joe Stitch 'em Up Schilling.
There are some of us who felt this of the 14 fights tonight, it was impossible to choose. Some of us felt this was main event caliber. Daniel Weichel, 2 tries at the world champion Patricio Pitbull, 2 times fell short. Goichi Yamauchi with a spectacular record as we check out the tail of the tape. These guys are submission specialists.
That's exactly right. And listen, I like the age on this because Weichel is actually, according to Vegas, a 2-to-1 favorite in this fight. So for people that say the sport belongs only to the young guys, maybe you're going to have something to witness right now.
Want to make the argument the biggest prelim fight in Bellator history? Go ahead and do it to Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight here at Ringside World Casino and Resort, we go to the lightweight division, set now for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing the fighter in the blue corner. At 5'10", weighing in 155.6 pounds, his professional record, 22 wins, 4 losses, fighting out of Curitiba, Paraná, Brazil, presenting Goichi Yamauchi. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner. At 5'10", weighing in 154.8 pounds, the former Bellator World Title challenger tonight stands with 39 professional victories, 10 defeats. He fights out of Frankfurt, Germany, presenting Daniel Weichel. And the referee in charge of the action, Jaron Vallel.
On my cue, gentlemen. On my cue. Slow. Yep. Fighter. Fighter. Fight.
The fight clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. 61 wins between these two fighters. Main events, world title challenges. Goichi Yamauchi, a lot of you familiar with the story.
Not this. Finger straight up, okay? Very close.
That is about poking in the eye, keeping the finger straight up. Goichi Yamauchi, Japanese parents, moved to Brazil
Fist close. There you go.
when he was an infant. And yes, if you're wondering where the Drake nickname comes from Daniel Weichel, it is the doppelganger look that he has that a friend pointed out a few years ago that, yeah, you look exactly like Drake. It's kind of stuck.
Certainly some similarities. No way to deny that. Good comparison, though. Both handsome men. To explain for the audience, if I may, to what just happened with Yamaguchi, his hands were open. We've seen problems over the course of mixed martial arts when a guy will extend a hand in a forward motion with his hands open. Fingers can go into the eyes. So the referee stepped in and said, hey, listen, if you want to hold that hand out there, do it for me, but just close your hand, which Yamaguchi did for about 3 seconds.
Let's go, buddy Matt Mitrione, about that. He lost a fight in Boston a few years ago because of that. Goichi Yamauchi was rolling, and then he ran into Michael Chandler, and that was the end of that. And it's really, what's interesting here for Daniel Weichel, longtime fans of Daniel Weichel will say, wait a minute, this is at 155. And now how does 155 shape up? Daniel Weichel, you could argue it's kind of a good shot, that right from Weichel. It's sort of run its course for him at 145 because Patricio Pitbull is the top dog, and only 2 losses for Daniel Weichel at the highest level, but they've both been to Patricio Pitbull. So We're not going to see that a third time, so he's decided, you know what, I'm going to go to 155. We'll see how it shakes out with Chandler and Brent Primus in Honolulu in a couple of weeks. And then what happens at 155 after that? Because as we see David Rickles tonight, later, and you see the list of the all-time great fighters in Bellator history, is this the year, 2019, that we finally see the two guys at the top of the list, Patricio Pitbull and Michael Chandler, finally make their way to each other? And if that happens, what happens at 155? So Daniel Weichel sort of trying to reinvent himself. Weichel trying to shake off that Michael Chandler loss.
I am not being critical of Goichi's stance and strategy thus far. However, I will tell you, I am curious as to it. This stance of just standing there without offense coming behind it is peculiar to me. When anytime you're sticking that hand out straight, sure, defensively you keep your opponent at bay and you know where he is. The other side of that is you can't generate any power from it, which means everything has to come from the left side of your body, which Weichel knows. On that case, Weichel sees the left knee come, closes the distance and drags him down. I would just encourage Yamaguchi, if he's going to do that stance, do like Machida and some other guys who have made that famous John Jones who comes to mind, which is to use it sparingly. At times, measure him. At other times, bring that hand back so he doesn't know which side of your body you're going to attack from. Everything, while his hand is extended, his right hand, everything he's going to do has to come from the left side. Bit of a giveaway. Left kick, big surprise.
Bellator stands with those affected by the fires in California. To find out how you can support those impacted, visit musicforrelief.org/fire. It's a Bellator, California-based company. So many fighters, so many the company's employees, so many connections in California. Shot of the round from Goichi. See, did a little damage. Daniel Weichel, who is a hard guy to hit. I mean, defense does not often get applauded in this sport, but Daniel Weichel is a very difficult guy to get to.
Well, when Yamaguchi gets ready to throw that left leg, I mean, whether it's telegraphed or not, I can make all the comments I want, but boy, he can pack some power behind that. And Weichel so far, Weichel with an off balance. That's a judo technique. Gets him out of the clinch. Very nice.
Yamauchi's Bellator debut was against a fighter named Masao Kobayashi. He's king of Pancrase and a highly decorated fighter, and he got rolled by Goichi at Mohegan Sun a couple of years ago, and that sort of put him on the Bellator map.
Weichel's working very hard here. He's having to do a lot more movement, a lot more motion, but it is largely because of that straight right arm the Yamaguchi's doing. I mean, just keeping him at bay, it's hard to get it. Usually those things are coming in, but they're coming out, and you slip in, you slip out. You'll hear announcers talk about the slip and the dip. There is no slip and dip. You just have to deal.
19 stoppage wins for Goichi, 18 by submission, 27 stoppage wins for Daniel Weichel, 22 of those 27 by submission. Daniel Weichel had run through everybody at featherweight after that flash knockout loss. And Georgie Karahanian was supposed to get that title shot against Patricio Pitbull. That was on the Kimbo Shamrock undercard in St. Louis in 2015. Weichel not only won the first round, there were some who thought he had won the fight. Big John McCarthy was refereeing, but it was the bell that saved Patricio Pitbull at the end of round one. Weichel picked right up, got too aggressive in round two, left his chin open, and one spectacular shot. That was the end of his title challenge, and it took him a lot of years to earn another one and a lot of wins. Patricio Pitbull beat him the second time this past summer. Kind of left Weichel with no more options at 145, so he will try lightweight. Oh, good shot. I mean,
just incredible power. Generally in this sport, we want to do what's called step outside, which means if you're going to throw your left kick, your right leg, which is going to be on the ground still, you step outside so that your head is offline, protected from that counter straight. Yamaguchi is not doing that. He's being very risky. Matt Mitrione does that same thing. The trade-off, however, is they can generate a lot of power.
give me some of the leg kicks you have. Give me some guys who are underrated that you don't think of them as wow. That guy has a really powerful one, but he really does.
Brian Stan. It took almost a week. Almost a week of that Charlie where we go, my goodness, I don't quite have control of my leg back, and I only ate one. 1 week it took to recover from that.
Again, we're seeing content Weichel.
That's right. He's got a very interesting and very effective, not for nothing, defensive posture. But at some point in this contest, he's going to need to mount an offense, and that is where Weichel is just simply scoring more times. As I see it, this is a bit of a confusing fight for people to call. The judges I'm referring to, but I do believe that Weichel is getting the edge here just because he is getting to the target from point A to point B more times than Weichel.
You don't want to fall behind a team that can run the ball, and you don't want to fall behind a defensive fighter like Weichel because he is a hard guy to make up ground against.
Passou metade do round, tá? Bora. Gigante, vamos ficar gigante agora. Ele vai vir pra todo lado pra nocautear ele. Isso! Ele tá cansado, isso! Agora a mão, 3. Olha a defesa, ele vai voltar pro direto. Aí, ó.
Weichel's really enjoyed fighting on some of the international shows over the last couple of years where he and his fans don't have that big travel. Everybody's traveled here, Middle America tonight, arguably the deepest card in Bellator history. And again, the interwebs are kind of talking about it already, but we were going to make official a major fight announcement. Speaking of being 3 or 4 years in the making, later on tonight when we go live and free on Paramount. This is as aggressive as we've seen Yamauchi.
Good quarter turns by Weichel.
What does that tell you?
Another quarter turn. It means he knows he needs to get offline. He knows when to be offensive, but at the same time, he's protecting himself, and he's also worried about his defense. He's showing respect to Weichel's power.
Weichel far more aggressive here in round 2. And busy.
I like that by Weichel. He's thrown across to the body, which is very rare, and then trading that in for a head kick to the opposite side. Weichel's style really does remind me of the Dragon, Lyoto Machida, and it is very hard. You've seen the success that the Dragon had. But it's a problem. He's got this constant defense going, and then he mixes in the offense. Most guys are the opposite. It's offense, offense, oh, a little bit of defense. So it's a hard puzzle. It's one that Weichel's trying to figure out on the fly. I can tell you, I've got a lot of sparring partners in the training room I work out at. I don't have anybody that does this. It's just a very hard thing to be prepared for, and Weichel's having to figure it out on live television.
And isn't this the way it goes? Two guys that love more than anything to be on the ground and spent virtually the entire first 2 rounds on their feet.
Quickly!
Now that, to me, is a much tougher round to call.
Ooh.
Gentlemen, fight!
And Weichel comes right back out to it. He is not giving up on this defensive posture of his. Boy, when these guys kick each other. I mean, Sean, you can hear it throughout the building. You and I are wearing headsets, and I hear it through the headset. Both ways. No matter who's throwing the kick, both of these guys are generating some of that power.
I'm not sure whoever wins this fight will be feeling like a winner tomorrow morning. Just tried a couple of times with that knee.
It cost him in the first round. Weichel was able to catch one, but he hasn't caught it since to be able to get that takedown. Oh, good straight by Weichel. His best shot of the fight, I would argue.
He's trying to set something up. But he'll settle for scoring and stepping back. Weichel certainly not fighting like a fighter who's trailing. Weichel hands down for the first time.
Well, that was tricky. Shawn Michaels would like that little chin music right there.
Nice reference. Greatest of all time?
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, I think maybe. Technically, certainly has an argument to it.
He liked to call himself the main event. In our main event tonight, Njokuani and John Salter at 185. Both not unlike Goichi Yamauchi and Daniel Weichel. Both have big-time records inside the Bellator cage. Both got very, very close to the top, then suffered that loss. You can recover from one. You can't recover from two. That certainly is the story in the main event.
Yeah, there's no way around it. I mean, you and I are putting some pressure on those guys, but that's just the story to be told. It's a high-pressure fight.
And, you know, Chidi goes up to 185, and he's much more comfortable. He can make weight. But 185 2 or 3 years ago was a little bit of an empty division in Bellator. It is no longer, especially with, you know, Gegard Mousasi at the absolute top of his game right now. He will defend against Rafael Lovato. Just saw, we're going to see Chris Honeycutt coming up later, and Costello Van Steenis at 185. Main event at 185. Mike Shipman, another first-round finish at 185. Joe Schilling's best performance of his MMA career is the reason the canvas looks the way it does right now. That was his artwork.
I mean, yeah, that was his artwork. Yeah, that was his canvas. And he painted it up. Ooh, what happened
Low shot.
there?
The low shot came in from Weichel, that right hand, just a little bit low. Easy for me to say.
Neutral,
a little
no
bit.
coaching.
Right from Weichel.
Now, Weichel changes elevation here. He's actually successfully landed this shot many times in the fight, but it got misdirected there. Went from the solar plexus right down to kind of a groin shot, and that's why we're taking the
Hit
break.
the elbow. You can see it hit Goichi's left elbow. And
You
that
see the
deflected down.
misdirection. Yeah, that was an incredible shot, wasn't it? It was like a ricochet. I would tell you, Weichel is doing a great job of mixing things up. I mean, he's used his hands, he's used his feet, and he's scored some takedowns at times. Even times he's failed with takedowns, he's attempted them, and he's keeping Goichi guessing nonstop. I think that's the biggest asset that Weichel's had in this contest. Is as awkward of a time as he's having figuring Goichi out. Well, Goichi hasn't quite figured Weichel out either.
These are two of the best at 155 in Bellator. It'll be interesting to see what Weichel can do in this division.
He's made a mistake here, Sean.
He certainly did.
He went for something and then he changed his mind partway in. He went for a takedown partway through. He thought, I want to pull out of here. Goichi said, oh, no, you don't.
It's often like trying to cross the street and stopping in the middle.
Okay, we just had a clap go off, and I think that was a misdirect. We've got over a minute left in this contest.
We do. Boy, if you're Daniel Weichel and you're hearing that.
That's right. I'm just alerting the fans at home that pay attention to our score clock. It is correct. There is 50 seconds left. Now, Goichi spins behind. He could steal the round here if he can get busy, Sean.
Which could be stealing the fight. This may very well come down to minute 15 here. So you want to be an MMA judge.
Weichel's right arm has got to dig an underhook if he wants to get up from this position. If he's over the top, collar ties, whizzer ties, he's not going to be getting off the bottom. And the good news is he's staying busy, and therefore Goichi isn't able to attack.
And he can get him back into half guard. He had side control for a second. Goichi not likely to finish from here, but did he do enough to steal the round and thus steal the fight? This is going to be a fascinating decision between two of the elite at 155.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Wow, I do not know how this is going to go.
Good fight, gentlemen.
I wouldn't mind seeing overtime here.
Yeah, wow. Now, there was the big takedown. There was the knee that Weichel was able to time and connect with. Most of this contest, though, was just a El Matador, if you will.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go your three judges at cage side. Your first judge, Michael Bell, scores the fight 30-27. He scores it for Yamauchi. Your second judge, Don Turnage, scores the fight 30-27. He scores it for Weichel.
Wow.
Your third and final judge at cage side, Jacob Montalvo, scores the fight 29-28 for the winner by split decision, Goichi Yamauchi.
A story as old as combat sports itself, the rising undefeated prospect and the battle-tested, and I mean battle-tested veteran.
And I talked to Ruiz in the back, and he told me he was not going to hold Jordan Young's inexperience and youth against him.
Live worldwide on the Bellator MMA Global app, we now, inside the cage, go to the light heavyweight division set for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing the blue corner. At 6'2", weighing in 205.6 pounds, his professional record, 34 wins, 22 losses, fighting out of Corsgold, California, Anthony Ruiz. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner at 6'4", weighing in 204 pounds even. As a professional, he's undefeated, 9 victories, no defeats, fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida, presenting Jordan Young. In charge of the action, your referee, Jason Herzog.
Round, buddy, you ready? Buddy, you ready? Fight!
Fight Clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Jordan Young, 9-0, 4-0 inside the Bellator cage. An uppercut.
Ruiz with a few wild shots, but 2 of them got through and had some power on him. Young now having to use his hips. If he gets his hips back, he can stay on his feet. Coming to a tie clinch. Giving a couple of Joe Schilling type knees and elbows in there by Young, and Ruiz clears out.
He's been good out of that plum. If there's a knock on Jordan Young early in his career, it's that he's almost a little too lackadaisical, kind of gets by on talent a little bit. And you want to see him a little bit more aggressive, sort of putting on a show. As you said, 205 is kind of in an interesting spot because Ryan Bader is going to fight Fedor in the final of the heavyweight Grand Prix. If he wins, as many expect he will, all of a sudden, as we saw Daniel Cormier here in the building tonight, you got a champ-champ situation, and 205 suddenly, I don't know what happens there, Chael Sonnen.
Sure.
If there's a little window at 205, but Jordan Young is a rising prospect. Vadim Nemkov beat Phil Davis. That's another name on that list at 205.
Great performance. Good of you to give him a shout out, but you're right, there's some major opportunity within that weight class, and it is a forming division right now. Nemkov, that actually surprised me, Nemkov. I thought that Phil Davis would take him down more. He didn't attempt to take him down, which surprised me. Look at Ruiz. Ruiz is a little wild here, but he's got some power at the end of those punches.
17 knockouts in his career. He's only fought twice in the 38 months since we last saw him. You had to be a pretty hard. If you're with us now early, you're a hardcore Bellator fan. If you're trying to remember, where did I see Anthony? I've seen him in the Bellator cage before. On the very first Dynamite in that light heavyweight tournament that Phil Davis ended up winning, Francis Carmont fought in the alternate fight earlier in the night. And who did he beat? He beat Anthony Ruiz. And then when King Mo was injured and couldn't go, it was Carmont that got the call to fight Phil Davis after he'd beaten Ruiz in the alternate fight.
Well, there's a good history lesson. I appreciate that.
You know, it's when you've lived it. You've lived it like I have. That first Dynamite in San Jose, that was Tito Ortiz and Liam McGeary. And Liam McGeary beating him with that first round sub. We'll see some of the fights coming up, and the list goes on and on and on.
Young doing everything right here. He's keeping his feet and hips close to the fence, making it hard for Ruiz to get underneath to get to those hips. Now he trades positions with him, does Young. There's that knee, which kind of been the story of Young's offense. Good straight right there, good uppercut. Ruiz is going to have to move. Young staying patient. He has what's called head position here. Back to those knees. He's a little head happy right now. Young keeps looking for those head shots with the knees. He can also drop those and come to the side, take those right to the body. Punch a hole in the gas tank, as Clayton Hires would say.
Jordan Young's done a lot of work with Colby Covington.
Good guy to work with.
Absolutely.
I got to give Young some credit right here. He's in a very dominant position, Sean, but he is not looking for the kill. So many guys will do this. They'll get in there with the Ruiz, think, okay, I've got you in a good position, and then they rope-a-dope themselves. They empty all the gas out of the tank. There's nothing left. No, you want to kind of pick your shots. You want to be methodical. Sure, you're always looking for that finish, but you're also making sure that there's a little bit on reserve. And Young's doing a really good job. I mean, really looks like a veteran.
Transition. That's exactly right.
He's under the
That's
net.
it. We're done. That was a clinic taught by the 24-year-old to the 41-year-old veteran.
But it had to do with patience. Young went out there. He now moves to an impressive, undefeated, perfect 10-0. That's not a ton of fights, though. And for him to go out and fight with that kind of poise.
You said he wasn't going for the home run right away. He knew exactly where he was going even here.
That's right. And if you watch this, though, he could be faster. He could be throwing more punches. But he's being good with his ride. He's being good with his shots. He's looking to advance his position. And he's doing it step by step by step as opposed to throwing everything out. So when an opportunity like this presents itself, he has the energy. He has the mental wherewithal to come underneath, get his lock, arch his hips, and go home early. Look at Young, just very methodical, one thing at a time. Looks for the wrist control. Looks to come to the other side. Looks to soften him up with the punches. He's right now looking to get his first leg in, or what grapplers like to call a hook. Now, it takes arm control on the other side. Now he's starting to work his way underneath the chin, but he does it step by step by step. Ultimately, has the energy, get the lock, arch the hips, get the tap.
To Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, the tap comes by way of a rear naked choke, officially 3 minutes 48 seconds into round number 1. The winner by submission, still undefeated, Jordan Young.
If you look at these guys' record, that's about as good as it gets. I mean, come on, 11-2 versus 10-1. Very few people are perfect in this business, Sean.
To Michael C. Williams.
Bellator MMA now presents 3 5-minute rounds in the middleweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner at 6'1", weighing in 185.4 pounds. His professional record, 10 victories, 1 defeat, fighting out of Rotterdam, Netherlands, Castello, the Spaniard, Van Steenis. And across the cage, his adversary, fighting out of the red corner at 5'10", weighing in 183.6 pounds. As a professional, he brings 11 wins, just 2 losses, fighting out of Fresno, California, Chris the Cut Honeycutt. In charge of the action, referee Carey Hatley.
All right, gentlemen, this is where your work pays off. You ready? Ready? Let's go to work.
Fight Clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Hard to still call Chris Honeycutt a prospect. You know, he's only 13 fights in. He's 30 years old now. High-level wrestler at Edinburgh, and had that heartbreaking national championship match, which he was leading. He's told me many times he's never gotten over that. A 2-point lead in a national championship match.
And the great ones don't. I mean, that's the curse, but that's also what made them great. They're never satisfied. For nearly anybody else, being an NCAA Division I finalist, regardless of the outcome of that match, would be a lifetime achievement. For the great ones, it's never enough. There's a good shot there by Honeycutt. Stenis comes inside. He's got double underhooks. It's going to be very hard for Honeycutt to pull him off the fence here.
Different now in the global world in which we were in, but it's so much harder for the European fighters to test themselves against high-level wrestling unless they came over here to train.
Sure. You know, that was a difference. They wrestle over there, and they wrestle at a good level, but it's a different sport. We do something different here called collegiate wrestling, where you're rewarded for keeping an opponent down and rewarded for getting up off the bottom. As you transition that to MMA, it's very important and helpful to keep a guy down or to be able to get up off the bottom should he take you down. And that's the difference in American wrestling. Honeycutt working really hard here, but he's also pushing. He's got a single, he's pushing. At some point, he's going to need to pull. He's going to need to pull his opponent. There, he's pulling now. Pull him off the fence. Let gravity do the rest.
Like that.
Like that, yeah.
Watch your toes.
Stenis right away creating a little bit of action here, creating some motion. That's very smart. That's what you want to do. If he can start to get a knee up, start to elevate his head and rise, it would be wise. Staying underneath Honeycutt isn't going to be fun for anybody. That's what we call a Granby roll. We don't see a lot of those in MMA, but very effective by Stenis. Boy, this undercard is loaded.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Look, everybody hearing me saying that has already tuned in. We're not selling it. This is a reality of the fact. They loaded this undercard.
No, there was a lot of internal discussion as we got closer to this date when you realized that the fights and the fighters we were seeing are what are, prelims in name only. And obviously, as you would expect, and to some degree hope, a lot of these fighters were not happy about it. Joe Warren wasn't happy about it. Joe Schilling was like, good, don't be happy about it and work harder, be more impressive, and the next time you get on TV, that's how this works. That's how it's supposed to work. But this preliminary lineup has been ridiculous.
Oh, good inside leg kick by Spanis. Spanis has a little bit of reach, a little bit of height on Honeycutt, and so far, he's done a very good job of utilizing that. He's controlling the range. Honeycutt, as the wrestler, will generally bully himself inside. Spanis there.
Tried the spinning back fist. Honeycutt ducked it. You see, now Honeycutt obviously going back to his bread and butter right there, and Honeycutt had that moment when he was rising and dominant, nice into side control, where he started to fall in love with the knockout idea and the power in his fists, and that's what hurt him. He was rolling. He had the fight with Paul Bradley at Mohegan Sun. They had the accidental clash of heads. Honeycutt was winning that fight. He was on his way to winning it. When they finally got around to the rematch, he got careless and got knocked out very early in the first round, and that slowed his momentum, moved up to 185, and since then has just suffered the one decision loss to Lovato, who, of course, is going to fight for the title in January.
Well, now here's a surprise. Spanis on top, Honeycutt looking for a reversal. This will all come down to the left arm of Spanis if he can keep that under control. Honeycutt gets his shoulders back against the fence. Good defense. That's mixed martial arts wrestling right there. Not normal, that's mixed martial arts. He's getting his back up and his shoulders specifically against the fence. Spanis comes inside, trips him down. Takes the back, he's got both hooks standing. Not as dominant of a position as if they were on the ground, but still a very good position by Spanis. Something you may not know from here, Sean, it's very tiring on your legs to be in the position that Spanis was just in. Hanging on and clinging while you don't have that gravity, you don't have the weight of the mat, you're using all your energy to stay up. And now they've traded double legs here. And Honeycutt back on top. Honeycutt in a good position. If he would elevate his head, push his hips in, he could start to really score some powerful shots here, but he comes to his hips, he's got to really arch and push him in. It doesn't look like he's going to do that.
Through one, a good fifth minute for Van Steenis, but Chris Honeycutt was the bully in round one.
All right, here we go, round two, ready? Let's go to work.
2012 National Championships in St. Louis. Came up against Cam Sim as he was up 4-2, ended up losing 7-5. And every time I see Chris Honeycutt, I say, are you over yet? Nope.
Aaron Pico is one of those guys that makes me glad I weigh 230 pounds.
Aaron Pico's the kind of, some guys look at him, they talk about, Larry Bird always used to say when he would see the Chris Webbers and the Shaquille O'Neals come in at the end of his career saying, boy, it's about time for me to go. If this is what the next generation is, I'm good moving on. Was Aaron Pico's loss at Madison Square Garden the best thing that could have happened to him?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. At the time, it's something you just say to get yourself through the night.
Right.
But yes, in many ways, look, your first performance is just not going to be a good one. Maybe you win it, but it's still not going to be a good one. They nicknamed Randy Couture the Natural because he walked in and didn't have that bad first performance that everybody expected. Yes, that's just a reality of the sport. It's very hard to walk out there. It is a different speed. It is a different light. It is a different pressure when your dreams are coming true. 1, you're at MSG. 2, you're in Bellator. 3, the arena's sold out. 4, the world is watching. Yes, a lot to deal with even for a decorated athlete like Pico.
Pico, Ruth, Fortune, all the signings, the big signings of the elite young prospect in Bellator by Scott Coker. Boy, Van Steen is very slow to react there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I think he thought that a punch was coming, so he stayed there to cover. I don't think he knew he had that space, but yes, that was a very bizarre moment where he almost stopped fighting for just a moment. He was in the middle of a great scramble that he created.
all those young fighters making their pro debut. And so when you think of the great fighters in the sport, how many times did we see their second fight on TV or their fourth fight or their eighth fight? You don't see it. And I compare it a lot to watching great Major League Baseball players. You're watching them in AA. You're watching them work their way up. And so suddenly they have these huge expectations and they have big TV fights. It hasn't worked like that in the sport.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Scott Coker went through a phase about 12 months ago. He opened the checkbook and told Mike Hogan and Richard Chew, go crazy. Go get me everybody between the ages of 19 and 23 that's got a future in this sport. And now we're starting to see those rewards.
I didn't realize there was anything left after you showed up.
Honeycutt doing just enough, but I support that. I think that that's very wise. Spanis is just so busy, so unpredictable down here that if Honeycutt was to sit up and take a big risk and try to get those big power shots, Spanis is just simply going to be gone. It's a very hard puzzle to solve. And Honeycutt has realized kind of early, I need to stay attached to this guy. I need to be like white on rice and just stay nice and connected and not allow any of that space that creates movement for trick moves like that.
Which
a rolling knee bar.
Near the fence. Really just put himself in a bad spot.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, he went for broke there. What's the last time we've even seen a standing rolling knee bar? Oleg Tektarov days?
Well, rolling out of dangerous positions and giving up positions is probably not. That might be something we talk about a little bit later. I know you. I know what happened with Fedor is you thought you were going to lose that position. Right?
Oh yes, we're talking about me here. Now
yeah,
I see
how the tables got. See what happens when you're an analyst. They can
it's fair.
Turn the tables on you.
Sometimes things just seem like such good ideas, and then you look back and go, I'm a fool. Oh, Honeycutt getting a leg in it.
There it is. Now the hooks are in. I mean, he has bullied Vanstinas here, who has been the bully. Oh, you forget.
Vanstinas is going to reverse this. He does.
Good job.
Wow. Didn't see that coming.
Honeycutt was up a little too high.
Honeycutt looking to get his shoulders to the fence. He wants both shoulders on the fence, not just one. He wants them both there. What that does is it will adjust his hips. When only one shoulder, your hips are in the wrong position, you're susceptible for a sweep, which is what just happened.
So in that, Honeycutt being unable to hold that last position. And again, Vanstinas tried this at the end of the first round. Going to try it again here with a hook in standing. We talk about reach. You think of that in terms of striking. But you forget on the ground, if the guy is bigger and longer and stronger, you may not be able to get the same position that you thought. And Honeycutt couldn't hold it and ended up going over the top. Honeycutt got caught listening to his corner there.
Good reversal by Chris. I mean, it's just a grinding fight.
That's what he does.
These guys are really burning some energy. I mean, we've seen a lot of positions in this fight. A lot of turnabout is fair play. A lot of attempts, particularly by Spanis, but very good contest, just lacking some of those big blows. And the reason I offer that is for some of our fans at home that are educated. I know they're loving this fight. For some of our fans that want to see more of that brawl and stuff, hey, they aren't wrong for seeing it, but that's not exactly what this is delivering. Honeycutt right here, he's doing a very good job. He's staying with his hips. He's hooking the leg, forcing his opponent to stay down. The bad news for Honeycutt, he's not able to get off those big fight-ending blows because he's got to stay so tight. At some point, to get those big blows, you have to take a risk, and Honeycutt has realized those risks are too risky because Spanis will just work his way out, create a scramble, and even at times end up on top himself.
And as you look in the corners, what you see are two fighters who have given a lot of effort and burned a lot of fuel in these two rounds. To your point about how physically taxing a fight like this can be. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Costello. I mean, they look like they've been through 8 or 9 rounds already.
All right, man, here we go, round three. Good job. Let's go to work.
Spanis has been a submission fighter. He's comfortable on the ground, but not in the way he's been bullied there by Chris Honeycutt.
I think both of these athletes are a lot more fatigued than they're letting on. They both look calm. They're both using body language to try to control their own emotions, which is what good veterans do, as Honeycutt's waving them in here. But just watching it, those different positions, and knowing as a grappler how fatiguing those scrambles are, I think both of these guys are a little lower on energy than the rest of us know. Good spanking, boy. Oh, Spanis is coming on in this round. Honeycutt's looking to clinch up.
Easily
move his feet.
Yeah, easily his best stretch. That spinning kick landed. It pushed Honeycutt off position.
Honeycutt reached for a double. He took his arms to the legs, but he didn't move his feet. That's why that didn't work. Spanis now with double underhooks. If he keeps this position, it will keep him on his feet, not for nothing else. But Honeycutt will not be able to advance a takedown from here until he can clear his arms. There, he's starting to work. The right arm comes inside, and now he breaks free.
Wow, big left kick. That time he got the exact distance he wanted. Pouring it on. Chris Honeycutt trying to scramble out of there.
The referee almost stepped in and stopped that.
And Honeycutt snapped to it, knew he had to move and change position, and he did.
Now here's the game for Spanis. He needs to break away right now before Honeycutt recovers, and he's only got about 4 more seconds, and Honeycutt will start to know where he is. But right now, Honeycutt is in great defensive mode. If Spanis has any energy, and he may have already missed his window, but he really wanted to break free and score right there. Spanis is down, I'm quite sure, 2 rounds to none. He's going to need a finish or a very, very big round if he wants to not lose this contest.
The first thing that's probably popping into your head right now is the possibility of a 10-8 round, which could even this whole thing up. That is certainly in play, but not from here. And Spanis is going to have to improve his position. Now he's going for the leg, and Honeycutt spins out of it.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah, he did. He trained for knee bar attempts against Spanis. Honeycutt back to waving him on.
Spanis is looking for another head kick.
Yep, he's trying to find that same distance.
Yep.
Honeycutt the level change and a big takedown that changes the momentum of the fight and the round.
Spanis under the leg. If he could have rolled there, there's some opportunity. He needs to go now, though. Don't let Honeycutt settle in. Chris spent 4 years, we keep talking about that college, that incredible college wrestling career of his, but he spent 4 years dominating this very position. Spanis going to the cage, that's smart. Use that fence like a tag team partner. Start to crawl up it.
Time is not on Spanis' side here. There was a window for certainly a 10-8 round, a dominant round. Again, he tries to roll and go for the leg.
Well, he's got something here.
A little bit.
Got a little bit of an ankle crank. As long as Honeycutt can stay in tight, this won't finish. Spanis is going to want to use his legs, kick him off, straighten that leg out there. That very good by Honeycutt. Coming under that arm, getting his arm involved. Spanis still with some opportunity if he can extend Honeycutt's body. In this position, it'll just be a stalemate.
Is Honeycutt okay here?
He's okay here. It's a stalemate. I would suspect that he's going to use that right hand very soon, start using some hammer fists, possibly some elbows. Risky move. I mean, Spanis went for it. I got to give him credit for that, but you do got to pick your moves. You want high percentage techniques when you're in a battle like this one.
He needed a big third round. He needed a rally, and it looked like he was going to put one together. Oh boy, Chris Honeycutt has stemmed the tide here. I'm not sure if Spanis is winning the round, but even this third round is going to end up being close. Pressure, Honeycutt, just pressure, pressure, pressure.
Don't grab the
Grabbed the fence, referee warned him. Spanis made it right. Took his hand up the fence and conceded the position. All right, Honeycutt's going to be able to ride this one out.
There were some moments.
Control.
Knee on belly, stepping over. Honeycutt looks pretty safe here to kill the clock. Some dangerous moments in that third round. There comes that head kick again, looking for one last Hail Mary at the bell.
I loved that fight.
That was good stuff. That was really good stuff.
That was a very hard fight by two guys that spent 15 minutes trying to win. That's what great fights are, is when both guys try to win the entire time.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go to your 3 judges at cage side. Your first judge, Don Turnage, scores the fight 29-28, scoring the fight for Honeycutt. Your second judge, Dan Mathieson, scores at 29-28. He sees the fight for Spanis. Your third and final judge at cage side, Jacob Montalvo, scores the fight 29-28 for the winner by split decision. Costello, the Spaniard,
They saw something we didn't in round 2. And that is where Spanis got this decision somehow, was in that second round. The tail of the tape with the veteran Gerald Harris.
Yeah, well, when you talk about veterans, I think that it goes both ways. Both of these guys have been in there darn near 30 times.
To Michael C. Williams.
Bellator MMA now presents 3 5-minute rounds in the middleweight division. Introducing first the fighter out of the blue corner at 5'10", weighing in 185.6 pounds. His professional record, 17 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw by way of Armenia. He fights out of Amsterdam, Netherlands, presenting Darpinian. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner at 5'11", weighing in 185.2 pounds. As a professional, 25 victories, 7 defeats, fighting out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, introducing Gerald Hurricane Harris. And the referee in charge, Mike Beltran.
All the way back, Archuleta. All the way back.
Don't mess with Mike Beltran. He wants you where he wants you.
You ready to fight? You ready to fight? Head up, go.
That's good advice.
Fight clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Gerald Harris, 3 wins in the UFC, but 0-2 in Bellator. Fought Rafael Lovato, and he replaced, ironically, he was the one to replace John Salter.
Watch your heads.
John Salter would not be cleared
Watch your heads.
with the eye issue, and then lost a fight we did, Chael, against the undefeated Russian prospect Yaroslav Amosov. Oh, big shot from Gerald Harris that left, and Archuleta was a smile.
You talk about his wins with the boys in Vegas. Of those 3 wins, 2 of them were of the night. Of the night bonuses. That's kind of like an insider term, but you're an insider.
I don't think it's that. I think people know about the fight of the night bonuses over there. In fact, he was on a show at the Palace at Auburn Hills in 2010. He was the Rampage Machida. Right, he was 3rd on the card. It was B.J. Penn and Matt Hughes was the co-main event.
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah, I'm sure that you have. Gerald Harris in the 3rd fight. We were talking, you know, our inside talk has been about the names on this particular card tonight. And here's Gerald Harris fighting in a quote-unquote post-limb. Just names up and down. There's going to be a lot to reshuffle in that deck when Scott Coker comes back from Italy and he and Rich Chow sit down on Monday. There's going to be an awful lot to sort out here because many, many things happened tonight. We had a fight on the prelims between Yamauchi and Daniel Weichel. 2 guys who have been main event fighters, world title challengers. In Daniel Weichel's case, Yamauchi got a very narrow decision. Stella Spanis, big prospect at 185, got a decision that neither you nor I agreed with against Chris Honeycutt. 185 for a period of time in Bellator was just barren. There was just nothing going on. Now all of a sudden there's a lot of depth. And obviously Gegard Mousasi looking as good as he has ever looked at the top. So much to look forward to. And now Rory McDonald will go back into he'll defend the title inside the confines of the welterweight Grand Prix, which we announced earlier today. We'll include that MVP Paul Daly fight in February. Mohegan Sun.
Yeah, I love the Grand Prix. I love the model of that. I love the lack of politics. I love the straight line bracket, the fairness, the trueness of it. I'm glad the Grand Prix are here, but I hope they're here to stay. Gerald Harris getting a little bit busy here inside the clinch. You know, when he landed that big left hand, That worries me as a guy who has followed Gerald's career. Sometimes he will land that hand and know, okay, great, I can reach the guy. I'm going to go back to it. The other side of that coin is he will only go back to it. He will throw it over and over. If it works, great, and if he doesn't, he ate up too much time.
Pass along one other piece of news we talked about in the prelims with Sean Bunch scoring that very early knockout of Joe Warren. Joe Warren is back from the hospital. X-rays were negative. He was cleared. It was just a stinger that caused that shoulder to sort of freeze up. It looked scarier than it turned out to be. How about Sean Bunch returning to Bellator? I mean, a make or break night, and he could not have been more dominant.
Big win. Took out a world champion. 2 or 3. I've lost track. Joe Warren's won so many world championships.
3 world titles in 2 divisions. There was that triumph for a period of time, the bantamweight division of Bellator with Marcos Galvo, Eduardo Dantas, Joe Warren, and one could beat the other, but then the other couldn't beat the. It was, you know, A and B. A could beat B, and B could beat C, but C couldn't beat A. It was pretty bizarre.
Round robins are fun, though. Gerald Harris eating a straight right there. Gerald being southpaw needs to be real cautious that he's got his lead leg outside of his opponent's lead leg, and he's not doing that consistently. He's stepping right into the danger zone, which means right in between a little bit too often, and when he does, he's susceptible.
One of Gerald Harris's UFC wins was against, wait for it, John Salter, who just subbed Chidi Njokuani in the first
You
round.
literally gave me no time to wait for it.
You're right.
You said wait for it and then said John Salter.
It's a bad habit people get into.
If you would have given me a beat, I would have thrown out a guess.
I don't think you would have.
Yes, I was playing along. I would have searched my memory bank. I would have got, you know, maybe like a Ultimate Fighter veteran or something. You gave me no time.
All right, I'll find another. Well, we already know you love to talk about Gerald Harris's other job and his future after fighting is done.
Stand-up comedy. He's quite funny.
Well, I hope so, if that's his intended profession. Oh, there, nothing funny about that shot. Gerald Harris running out of time here in round 1. Finally landed the biggest shot right before the bell.
Right behind the ear. Incredible recovery. His opponent did not want to call that, but that was right behind the ear. Very vulnerable spot.
He had one very early and one very late.
Sure. This is the one early. Dips down. Gerald's got a wrestling background. Didn't put his opponent down, but certainly stumbled him. Let's take one more look at that same shot right there. His opponent stays on his feet. Gerald stalks him. Nice and calm, doesn't go for the kill. And now at the end, he comes over the top right behind the ear. Very, very good recovery by the opponent. However, I believe with those 2 big shots, particularly one resulting in a knockdown, that will secure the round for Gerald.
All right, gentlemen, second round. Ready to fight? You ready to fight? Head up, go.
Darpinian sort of bounced up. He, as you said, he had the good recovery after taking the shot at the end of the round. Looks okay here to start round 2.
Oh, huge leg kick.
Now it's Gerald Harris trying to clear the cobwebs.
And he's doing a good job. The way he went down, I know he was going to get up, but he is recovering here. He's hanging on the legs, which he can't get away with forever. But his head is at least protected for the most part.
He's staying safe, but crazy early in the round. He's not thinking what I think he's thinking, is he?
Let's see what happens here. I'm imagining he's just going to come out the back door, but I think he's using this opportunity to grab a breath. I think he's taking some deep breath. I think he's still in recovery mode. There's a pretty easy technique for a lifelong wrestler like Gerald to finish. I think he's choosing and electing to stay here.
Darpinian grabbing a hold of those feet in case Gerald Harris is thinking of trying to stand up, which I think he realizes now he won't be able to do.
And all Gerald has to do is pull his head out, put it on the right side of his opponent, and he will drop him to the side. I think Gerald wants to stay here. His head's protected. He's catching his breath. He's not in any jeopardy. He's not using a lot of energy.
It's the back of the head.
Only Gerald Harris knows his state of mind right now after taking that big shot in the opening seconds of the round.
Well, Gerald's got an underhook. If he wants to get his right hip down, he can pop right up to his feet here. As long as he has that underhook, and now that hip's starting to come down, he can come up to his feet. It's going to take some energy, but not a lot of technical savvy. He's already in the position.
Can you describe the feeling, Shale, of trying to clear the cobwebs and what those moments and sort of when you know you're okay, or at least you feel like you're okay?
Yes, and I can tell you this, Sean, it's largely a losing battle. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, the guy gets you to a 9. You might be able to bring it back down to a 2 or 3, but you're never going to erase it completely in that contest. So if you can just take a beat, if you can start to realize, okay, where am I? And you'll give yourself a litmus test. Okay, where am I? What are we doing? You'll start to ask yourself the same questions that a doctor would come in and ask you. Once you can answer them, you gain a little bit of confidence. Get your breath back, and you can feel it all the way down to your toes, all the way down to your feet. It's really in your legs where you'll see the guys kind of, you know, doing what the chicken dance where they're stumbling around. Your upper body usually feels good. Your head even feels good, but your legs will tell the truth.
So Darpinian is trying, with that knee, he's trying this a couple of times to get on the wrist.
Gerald Harris is flat being lazy in this position. I'm saying that so that when Gerald goes back and watches this, he will listen and he will say, Chael, you're right, but he is flat being lazy here. He knows how to get out of this position. He knows how to stand up, and his opponent is not putting enough weight or pressure on him to force him here.
Saw tonight, David Rickles got blasted in his corner for sort of taking time off in round 2 on the ground when he could have gotten up. David Rickles, the strong 3rd round, winning that fight against Guilherme Bomba.
Gerald's waiting here. He's got the wrist control. He doesn't have a lot of pressure on him. All he has to do is step one leg up, then the other. He will be out. It's a level of energy that he's choosing to not exert right now. And I know the math that fighters are doing. I've been in these, okay, I won the 1st round, I can throw 1 round away. That's a risky game, but you're not thinking clearly out there. You've been punched, you've been stunned, you're fatigued, but that is the psychology that's going through Gerald's head right now. Okay, I won 1, I've lost 1, let's just take it to the 3rd.
His goal from the second he took that shot was sort of just get out of this round. Darpinian hunting a little bit. He needed to try this a lot earlier in the round. Gerald Harris going to take the 10-9 loss in round 2 and take his chances in the 3rd.
Yeah, oh, it's very clear. It's very, I'm halfway frustrated watching this because he has the wrist control. All he has to do is stand up if he elects to.
Watch the back of the head.
Be interested to see what the advice will be in the corner if your view is the way they saw it, and if they get on his case a little bit.
I wouldn't have been no good on my feet.
Here's when he said he rocked me bad. Here's what he meant.
Right there, even comes so much power on that. And while Gerald even had his hand up and was in good position, it was still enough to rattle him and put him down. And it appeared for the rest of the round that he knew, okay, I got knocked down. I'm just going to let this one ride. We're 1 knockdown apiece, at least in his mind. That makes us 1 round apiece. Let's take it to the 3rd. Risky game, but I would suggest for you that's the one that Gerald is playing.
Behind the ear, he took that shot. You can mess with your equilibrium. Now we start over again. Clean slate here in round 3. Gerald Harris had 25 professional wins coming to Bellator, but he's 0-2 inside this cage, and now coming down to a 3rd round against Horacio Darpinian.
A quick jab there by Gerald.
Through the reaction of the crowd. A lot of people here to see Gerald Harris. Level change, but up against the fence. Gerald Harris very comfortable there.
Yeah. Oh, Gerald is excellent, excellent wrestler. He chooses to go out there and trade punches, but just shooting a straight-on shot on him, somebody with his level of experience, that's going to be tough. Gerald's traded the position now. Now Gerald has head position. We talked about that. We're talking about the top of Gerald's head being on the jaw of his opponent, turning his opponent's head away. Gerald can keep pressure and get under the hips. Right now he's attacking the lower back. You're not going to be able to get a takedown there, Sean, but if he can come under the hips, high up on the leg and just under the hips, he will be able to secure this. But he seems complacent in this position. His opponent looking for a bit of a judo throw there.
Is it complacency, or could he still have had his bell rung 5-6 minutes ago? Maybe isn't where he wants to be.
You know, that's exactly right. Neither fighter going into the third round are going to be in a completely sound state of mind. But now right here's a big opportunity. Gerald's got to capitalize on this. Put pressure on the head, pull him down. We're back in the open. That was a missed opportunity. Right now, Gerald can explode when they're in the open. Being on the hip can work in the open, not up against the fence, though.
Amazing. One shot can just change a fight. You think about it, you forget about it as a fan because so many more things have happened. But Gerald Harris could still be feeling the effect of it. We had a fight, in fact, that began the night. Two former main eventers in the opening prelim tonight. And the Pike man, Brian Moore, got off to a great start. Found out later he broke both of his hands in that fight. And so, obviously, by the time he got to we wondered how a fight could turn around so dramatically after Brian Moore won the first round, and Noah Lahat dominated him after that. Brian Moore was a fighter with two broken hands.
Sure.
Good jab from Harris.
Imagine a framer and you break his hammer, right? I mean, yeah, that's the tools of our trade. I did not know that happened.
Stop time!
Low shot.
Stand over there.
Right there. Take more than your hammer away.
Right there. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a reason you get 5 minutes for that. You need it. Oh, very unintentional. Through the kick, Gerald moved.
You got time, okay?
Relevance being it won't be a point. He's not subject to disqualification. Unintentional, low blow. Gerald will be given up to 5 minutes.
Over here. Thank you, sir.
I don't know if I've ever seen an athlete actually take that.
No.
And I always wonder why they don't, Sean. Why don't you use that? You got some time. Use it.
I always think guys tend to rush back a little soon, and you don't think of your adrenaline's going, you want to get back in the fight when, yeah, there's very little. I mean, imagine a lot of thinking and strategy goes out the window when you take a shot like that.
But stay over there.
It's not your 5 minutes.
Hey,
the official has 5 minutes
don't
to
grab
spend.
the shorts. You understand?
And it's the official's decision. So Mike Beltran
can't
can't rule him ready.
Let's go.
It's obviously a lot less than 5. His best lead right jab from the southpaw. Harris has been his best shot. Harris the best left he's landed.
Yep, that was flush.
A little disconcerting that Darpinian keeps coming forward after those two shots. Darpinian's got a real chance to steal this.
Well, he certainly does. Gerald needs a few more feints to remind you in the first round when some of those big shots landed. One of them even getting a knockdown for him. He was feinting, though. He was throwing his opponent off. He was coming in, he was coming out, he was changing elevation, making his opponent guess, boom, and that's when he can come over with that big power shot. When he's standing in front of him, a little bit harder.
Fingers.
A little less guessing being done by the opponent.
I wonder about that shot, that head kick in the second round. Gerald Harris just does not look like the same guy. Did he have enough in the bank? Now the judge is going to see this third round. Wow. Explosive shot. He wouldn't give up on that. Looked like he might not have it.
That was a freight train. I mean, he changed elevation and started sprinting. What a perfect double leg.
Strategically, with time left in the round, that may be just enough for Gerald Harris to get across the finish line here.
It certainly wouldn't hurt his fans to see him get just a little busier here. Nothing is secure. There's a very, very close contest.
We've had a few of those tonight.
Gerald's going to try to get him up one last time here. Good energy.
That's the way to finish.
He needed that.
Pretty even contest. We don't know, but Michael C. Williams does.
Right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go to your judges' scorecards. Your first judge, Dan Mathieson, scores the fight 29-28. He sees the fight for Darpinian. While judges Michael Bell and Don Turnid see the fight 28-28. They score the fight even. The bout is judged a majority draw.
Surprisingly, not a big pop from the crowd for the majority draw announcement, but how many times tonight have we said, boy, that's a really tough fight to choose. That could be dead even, big boy.
And Sean, I'd like you to look at the reach because this is going to favor Lewis, and the relevance to that is that's what Rudy used so well the last time he was here when he scored that first round knockout was his reach. He will not have that against Vernon Lewis tonight.
So Michael C. Williams.
From WinStar World Casino and Resort, Bellator MMA now moves to the heavyweight division set for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing the blue corner at 6'3", weighing in 264.8 pounds. His professional record: 6 wins, 3 losses. Fighting out of Waco, Texas, presenting Vernon Big Heat Lewis. And across the cage, his adversary fighting out of the red corner at 6'4", weighing in 253.8 pounds. As a professional, he stands undefeated at 5-0. He fights out of Clackamas, Oregon. Introducing Ruiz Shaffroth. In charge of the action, your referee, Jaron Villel.
On my cue, gentlemen. Fighter, fight!
Fight clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste at only 96 calories, which is not really an issue when you're dealing with the heavyweights. Rudy Shaffroth has never been past 3 minutes in his 5 wins, all first-round finishes. Highly recruited football player, 2-time All-State in Oregon as a defensive end, went to Portland State.
Plus, I might add, he was a state champion wrestler. The best football player in the state, the best wrestler in the state. Ended up doing both in college. Gave up football, only pursued wrestling, became an All-American for Josh Roden out of Clackamas Community College.
It's almost like you know a little bit about Oregon. You have connections there somehow?
I was able to work with Rudy starting his senior year in high school. So yes, I've known him his whole career. Then it turns, I found this out through his brother. Turns out he's the captain of a rugby team that he didn't even tell any of us that he's on. So this is really quite a special athlete just all around.
Can't be any more impressive than he has been. 5 first-round finishes to begin his career. Oh, great counter left. These are big shots from Shaffroth, gaining confidence, stepping forward.
And Lewis looks as calm as can be. This is a very risky game that they're both playing.
Didn't really get a chance to talk about it. An MVP Paul Daly fight, obviously stealing the show at Mohegan Sun, but the return of Vitaly Minikov, the former heavyweight champion, against Czech Congo, and they met years ago. It was one of the last real heavyweight title fights in Bellator. That left is finding a home here.
Lewis is taking it so well. I mean, these are hard shots.
Yep. And eventually, you stay in there, you're going to take one. Shaffroth uses the elbow to clear some space to get up. Oh, another left. That'll be disconcerting at some point. These shots are landing. Vernon Lewis is barely taking a step back.
That's the thing about it. Rudy is definitely landing more, but it's not always about who can hit who more. Sometimes about who can take it. And Lewis is taking it, and he's giving a little bit back.
See the size of Vernon Lewis. I mean, he had to cut to get to 264.8.
Look, if that shot's not going to put him down.
I mean, he's not even moving backwards, but he's about to go down, and that's it. And it was the accumulation of the shots from Rudy Shaffroth, eventually too much for Vernon Lewis. I mean, he stood in and took shots that wouldn't have knocked out. I mean, he would look like a rhinoceros in there, would not go backwards, but eventually.
Sean, that was actually incredible to watch because Lewis was taking the shots, and yes, to your point, how does a goldfish eat a shark? Well, a lot of little bites. Eventually, you can get it done. I like the word you used. It was an accumulation. Right here, these guys are trading. And they're trading hard, and old Lewis looks like he's got a helmet on. I mean, nothing would hurt him. The guy was bulletproof.
And just when you're wondering, how do you hurt this guy, that one got through.
But eventually, they do add up.
That one right on the chin, right on the button from Shaffroth. The other shots had hit Vernon Lewis up higher. But that one right on the chin was the perfect knockout spot.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, it comes to an end officially. 2 minutes, 51 seconds into round number 1. The winner by knockout, still undefeated, Rudy Shaffroth.
The tail of the tape as we move now back down to featherweight.
Look, these guys are very similar in everything except the reach. They got about 4 inches there going against Carey. Now, where I find that relevant is Carey usually keeps the guys at the end of his punches. He's very good at mixing things up, disguising you with the hands, coming underneath for the takedowns. Tonight, he'll have to get inside to do that.
To Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, now inside the Bellator cage, we'll go 3 5-minute rounds in the featherweight division. Introducing the blue corner at 5'11", weighing in 145.4 pounds. His professional record: 4 wins, 1 loss. By way of Morocco, he fights out of Chicago, Illinois. Presenting Glory Boy, Adil Bergialani. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner at 5'7", weighing in 145.4 as the professional. 6 wins, 2 defeats. He fights out of Ada, Oklahoma. Introducing Daniel Scary Carey. And the referee in charge of the action, Jason Herzog.
First round, buddy, you ready? Buddy, you ready? Fight!
Flight Clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Very aggressive start.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the night. I mean, he's coming right after it, isn't he? Maybe watched old Rudy in the back. Well, it's just come out and let it go.
You're referring to Rudy Shaffroth, right? Not the movie.
Yes, of course.
Some Chicano.
I should clarify. It's not a bad movie. A little overrated, if we're being fair.
Really?
A little bit, yeah.
Rudy.
You know, so the guy did a play. You know, true story. Yeah, I understand. The guy did a play. Well, he worked really hard.
Not everybody can have as decorated an athletic career as you.
I wasn't being a jerk about it. I'm just saying, if you go watch the movie and you put it in perspective that he did a play, I think that perhaps it wasn't quite worth all those awards it won.
Very Scrooge approach there.
Listen, being a critic isn't always about being nice. You have to tell both sides of the coin. You can't just walk around and be nice chill all the time.
You like Sean Astin better in Goonies? You're more of a Goonies guy.
Between the two, yes, it was probably a better film. He didn't really load me up on choices there.
I did. Well, we just started with 2.
It wasn't like you worked Tombstone into the mix. Or...
Njokuani tried the leg kick. Again, he's looking for that distance. Use that reach advantage. When you see a fighter chill for the very first time, what's the first thing you are looking for?
Well, I like to look for the movement. I like to see how well they move out there. You know, it's so important, and ultimately that's all that we're doing in this sport, or any sport, is movements, or movements versus my moves. You can break it down to that real basic element. But if you have a guy that can move, a guy that can throw attacks while bouncing, while moving left and throwing a jab, while moving right and throwing a cross, you can generally start to judge the athleticism and how much time he's put in the gym.
Beautiful. Lead with that boxing. Hey,
Njokuani,
lead with that boxing.
he has been sort of content to counter-strike.
Move your hands. Move your hands. Hey, move your hands. Lead upper into that two.
It's always fascinating when you could hear the coaching. Kind of adds another element to it.
Cut him off. Yes. Don't reach. Don't reach. Keep it tight.
So how aware are you when you're in there of the other guy's coach?
You know, you do hear them sometimes, particularly if you're in their corner, and it's always the negativity that you hear more. I remember I was fighting Michael Bisping, and Tiki Goshen was yelling to Michael. He was yelling, he's tired, he's tired. I remember being upset. Thinking, what am I doing that makes you think I'm tired? But I mean, I remember all these years later, you asked me about it here, and I specifically remember the cornerman saying he's tired, he's fading, and for a fighter, that's terribly offensive, even when true. But you never want to be the guy that's fading. You want to be the guy that's out there pushing the pace.
You want to be like Rudy. You want to keep fighting even when the odds are.
It was a play. Maybe a little embellished.
So we just ran through all those fights. Which one are you looking forward to the most? I know you get to go to Hawaii, and that's awesome. We're all happy for you, but of all these individual fights coming up between LA and Hawaii, Sakara tomorrow, Prentice and Chandler, Himalaya, Letourneau, what jumps out at you?
I'll surprise you because it's actually Ruth versus Neiman Gracie. For multiple reasons, I think that Ruth is the dark horse of that tournament, and I don't know that Gracie has ever got the credit that he deserves. He is a submission whiz. He is willing to fight. He wants to be a champion, and he proved that by throwing himself into Murderer's Row, which Scott Coker has named the Grand Prix.
I think you're exactly right. Ed Ruth's dominance has kind of gone overlooked. And the way he's winning fights.
Don't forget, should Ed Ruth win his next fight, marking his 5th fight ever, will be for the World Championship. Are you aware of that? He is going to take on the winner of Rory and Fitch, but whoever wins that fight carries the champion. Carries the strap with him.
We like to say, as the kids like to say, that's going next level with these Grand Prix now. You're throwing the belt into the Shark Tank.
Now you see, now that's a story. Kid sleeps in a janitor's office one time. You know, he makes his dad proud because he did up play. No. That's a story that I just told you.
Douglas Lee, if you were to look at one guy maybe to stop that streak.
Oh, absolutely. Former world champion, yeah.
I mean, Douglas Lima, think about the losses he's had. He lost to Korshkov when he was on one leg. He lost to Ben Askren early in his career when he couldn't deal with Ben Askren's wrestling. This is before you could trade guys back and forth, before that whole thing entered the element of our consciousness. And the only other fight he lost was the decision, which to me could have gone either way. It was a very close fight with Rory McDonald. And Rory McDonald, who had been in one of the most legendary fights in the history of the sport, said that was a tougher fight against Douglas Lima than the Robbie Lawler fight. Now look at the opening up, Carey in big trouble. This is almost done. Jason Herzog gave him a chance to move, and he stops it. Adil Benjelani, very impressive. He got the first shot in. Jason Herzog, to his credit, he gave Daniel Carey a chance to fight out of it. He couldn't, and we are done.
Yes, and Carey was trying, to both of these guys' credit. Nobody gave up in this fight. These two guys went to war here.
I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Adil Benjelani came in fighting on the road, waiting. That told you he was looking for the distance on that. 3 in a row. Third one got through, then the overhand right. And you hear, watch Jason Herzog saying, move, move. He gave him a chance, and then stopped.
Man.
Beautiful. He's hiding. That ball didn't go upstairs.
Carey doing a good job at that range. Probably Angelani just stood back and was able to land those head kicks. Comes in for the ground and pound. You know, Carey did not want to stop fighting. He was trying, but he was really pinned in this position. Look, if one head kick is good, then 2 is better. If 2 is better, Why don't we just go for 3?
3's the charm.
Now, let me suggest something that I know you would like. Let's say this fight happened. Let's say Njokuani threw one head kick, got cleaned up, got thrown out of the business, and was never seen again. And 15 years later, you found out he slept in a janitor's office, and they made a movie about him. If somebody had presented that to you, and you decided to be a little bit calloused about the achievement, I don't think you would be being a jerk. For the record,
I don't think anyone in the world would ever call Chael Sonnen.
You will apologize to me when you're ready.
As far as you know. To Michael C. Williams.
When you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, it comes to an end officially 43 seconds into round number 2. Referee Jason Herzog steps in and waves off the contest for the winner by TKO Glory Boy, Adil Benjilani.
In the opener, an extraordinary record right now for Juan Archuleta.
Yeah, I just say, as you stare at this thing, even though both of these guys are batting over 90%, if you look at the accumulated fights between them, over 45 fights, Sean, that's a lot of experience.
One of the biggest nights in Bellator history, one that ends with fortunes changed for many, begins as always with Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Bellator MMA Live on Paramount Network from WinStar World Casino and Resort. The action begins now with 3 5-minute rounds in the featherweight division. Brought to you by Boost Mobile. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save. And now, first introducing the blue corner at 5'6", weighing in 142.6 pounds. In his return to the Bellator cage, he brings 21 professional victories, 4 defeats, fighting out of Chickasha, Oklahoma, Jeremy Spoon. And across the cage, his adversary, fighting out of the red corner at 5'9", weighing in 145.6 pounds. Near perfect as a professional, he brings 20 wins, just 1 defeat. He fights out of Venice Beach, California, introducing Juan the Spaniard Archuleta. And when the bell rings, the referee in charge of the action, Carey Hatley.
Jeremy Spoon returns to the Bellator cage after 6 years away. Fighting in the regionals, a big chance under the bright lights tonight, but that is one of the hottest fighters on the planet right now, Juan Archuleta. The fight clock brought to you by Miller Lite, great taste and only 96 calories.
Archuleta just so unpredictable, but what I really feel his greatest asset is his ability to push that pace. He will come at you as hard in the last minute as he will in the first minute. That's something that's hard to explain to the audience. They can't totally see that. It's an intangible, but that is the difference maker in his young career.
I often think of the starting line and the finish line. He wasn't this top super prospect. Great job by Spoon on the counter and the takedown. Maybe going a little too fast here, a little too much adrenaline from the veteran, but Juan Archuleta's improvement came in his 10th fight, his 12th fight, his 14th fight, when you sort of decide, am I going to make a commitment and go all in? And he did, and put some great people around him.
Yeah, that's right, and you could see that he was doing that in the training room and was transferring over. Listen, Spoon, okay, we've lost the position, but that was a very explosive technique. Maybe even a little bit better wrestling than I had anticipated from him. Archuleta looking to change fortunes here. If Archuleta's going to have his hip, and right now they're hip to hip, he's not going to be able to maintain this position. He wants to scoot all the way around to the back, so his hips are behind his opponents. Right now, Spoon is going to have to either hand fight or he's going to have to change his position there. Archuleta goes down, picks him up, lets gravity do the rest, and he's on top.
Junior college national champion wrestler at Sacramento City College, then on to Purdue. Alma mater, my buddy Matt Mitrione. You mentioned TJ Dillashaw, Cub Swanson, Syed Awad. Zach Padilla is his striking coach.
That's a rough bunch of guys.
Yeah, and that's legit. That's a legit group right there. But what he went through the last time out, we showed you the highlights, and he was spectacular in his performance. What we didn't know as it was going on was that he had gotten word that his daughter, Fabiana, had passed out. And it turned out to be just a hot day, and she hadn't had enough to eat and drink. But talk about having something on your mind you cannot have on your mind when you're going into that cage.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm so happy to hear she's okay. Yes, that would be very terrifying. Now, this is the same position, Sean. Same position I was discussing with you a second ago. Archuleta's got his hips to the side. He's got to have them all the way behind her. He's going to lose the position. He's lost the position, but he fires off some jabs. Good job by Spoon, too. We're sitting here talking about Archuleta, but Spoon is really putting up a good one.
I mean, he missed by a mile with that left.
Well, he succeeded in putting everything into the shot.
That is true.
He's learning sometimes that's more of an expression. Make sure you keep the balance. Good recovery, though, by Spoon.
The full guard. You can't grab, you can't put your fingers between the fence. You can use it like a wall, but you can't grab it. Archuleta, he's an interesting dude at a lot of levels. But he said, hey, Jeremy Spoon's a better wrestler than me. His jiu-jitsu's better than me. I mean, they've surrounded an industry, Tim, in which every fighter interview you ever do is, oh, I'm better than this guy and that. I'm better than him in this. I'm better at Archuleta. It's almost reverse psychology. He goes the other way.
Well, and look, you've got to be really aware of what you're getting into. And sure, some of that is a little reverse psychology, not meant for the opponent or for the fans, but for yourself. You want to take the pressure off of yourself. A lot has been put on Archuleta. You're guilty of that, quite frankly, Sean. You built this guy. You know how good this guy is, and maybe it does make him a little bit nervous. But I'll tell you thus far, even though Archuleta is getting the jump, Spoon is matching him back. Spoon has had some very good moments here. And this could ultimately come down to a battle of conditioning. And if Spoon can hold up, we could have a very fun fight ahead of us.
Spoon, again, as you said, he's thrown himself into all these shots. You saw, join the conversation. You guys all know how to hashtag by now. Bellator 210.
Great control of those hips. Now Archuleta's behind him. If he can keep this angle, he can drag him down to the mat. He starts to come back out front, he's going to lose the position.
Jeremy Spoon said something interesting when we talk about some of the high-level fighters that Juan Archuleta is sparring with, training with, trying to jump knee from that position. Jeremy Spoon's like, yeah, we don't have the same sort of coaching and that same sort of stuff here in Oklahoma, so we watch a lot of videos. When I hear a guy say that, my thought bubble is, well, maybe Oklahoma isn't where you should be. Then if the coaching isn't here, you got to go find the coaching, and that's what the top guys do.
Sure. No, that's a real thing, and there was a time in this sport where we did watch by video, but that was called the 90s. And not for nothing, but the sport has evolved enough, but you do have to get into one of those hotbeds.
Those VHS tapes. VHS tapes. So Jeremy Spoon comes out aggressive, but Archuleta holds controlling positions for much of the round.
Well, TJ Dillashaw, Mr. Positive, too. That's nice to see. I like to be coached like that. I like the positivity. Light a fire under me in the practice room. In the ring, just blow some sunshine, because for me, that's what I like to see.
I mean, the great coaches figure out how their athlete needs to be coached. If you have one style fits all, doesn't work.
That's right. Each athlete can be different.
Pretty easy call.
Yeah, it certainly is for me. I really thought that Archuleta just had a little bit better output. I thought he even controlled some positions as it came to grappling. I had him 10, and I had Spoon 9.
Archuleta's lone loss 3.5 years ago. Said it was his dad who motivated him. Said, you got to work on your striking more. Got to work on your stand-up game. And he has not lost since. 15 consecutive wins. He's down to the regionals, king of the cage. He was a 4-division champion, including at 135, which is the interesting element if Archuleta is successful here and he wins his 16th straight fight. Patricio Pitbull is the featherweight world champion. Just defended his title in a great fight against Emmanuel Sanchez. The wild card here is the bantamweight division. With so many of the top contenders getting injured, there may be world title opportunity earlier against Darian Caldwell at 135, and Archuleta can certainly make that weight.
I like that math you just did. Yes, he certainly could make that. Good scramble there by Spoon. Spoon is just a step behind in this whole fight. Archuleta keeps finding this exact same position. Hip to hip here or belly to belly, but with him having the underhooks. Spoon has got to start beating him in these spots. He can do that by digging in, doing what we call pummeling, but he's got to start getting those underhooks himself. If Archuleta can stay here and eat up time, it's going to just stop Spoon from being able to get any activity, any offense off. Right now would be a good opportunity. Spoon needs to take control of this fight and go first. Archuleta, every time there's an option, who's going to go first? Every time the answer has been Archuleta.
Archuleta looks like a very confident fighter these days. And he's growing into the race, growing into the record. That's what's happening. I'll do the body work on the clinch, which is a little unusual.
Good jab.
Yep.
He might have hurt. I think
He did.
on the nose,
He did.
didn't he?
Archuleta senses the opportunity now.
Something happened there. I'm thinking that Archuleta might have broke Spoon's nose. He certainly did some damage to it. Spoon almost eager.
Spoon turning. The left started it, and Archuleta on the verge of finishing it here. Spoon defending himself, but he's not moving. The veteran staying alive for now. Great look at it from the overhead.
Good underhook there by Spoon. This might get him back to his feet if he wants it. He seems almost complacent to stay down in this position, which largely he took himself to. He largely sat down and conceded the spot, which made me wonder what exactly happened there.
I think there was a short left in there that clipped Spoon and stunned him, and Archuleta gave him no time to recover.
All right, Spoon back into the fight. Yeah, it was the left. Our producer is in my ear. He rewatched it in the truck, said it was the left hand, and Archuleta jumps right back on. This is what I'm talking about, Sean. In these, right here, in these moments, somebody has to go first, and whoever goes first is in control. Archuleta takes that spot every time. He's making Spoon react to him. Here's another moment to reset the fight, and Archuleta again goes first.
Spoon tries the level change. Archuleta easily spins out.
High energy fight. Love it. Another opportunity to reset.
The right clip, Jeremy Spoon.
A fight isn't one big long contest. It's a whole bunch of small moments. Right here is a new moment. Archuleta has two different speeds. Sometimes, Sean, he's just touching it, boom, 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 and sometimes he explodes. Fighters that fight like that, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, they're very hard to get a read on. It takes a lot of skill to get there, but I like how Archuleta can go from fast to super fast, from medium to fast. Two different speeds make Spoon have to deal with two different opponents.
The greatest pitchers aren't the ones that throw the hardest. They're the ones who have the biggest difference in speed between their pitches. And it makes them deceptive. The evolution of Juan Archuleta the last couple of years has been something. Jeremy Spoon, he's just struggling to stay on his feet at this point. Saw some big-time performances. If you're just joining us on Paramount in our prelim card, one of the deepest in Bellator history. And Juan Archuleta putting on a great show in a dominant round number 2. Full marks for Jeremy Spoon just to survive.
Easy up, man. Stop.
Watch the left hand here of Archuleta.
Watch this. It's that left hand that's hurting him. Spoon keeps on taking them. Archuleta is setting everything up with the jab, and they're just getting through, landing right on the nose. Very painful spot, very sensitive spot to be punched.
So full marks for the veteran here, Jeremy Spoon. You don't get to be 21-4 unless you've survived adversity, which he has throughout his career.
Yeah, I've got no problem with the effort in Spoon. I would just correct one thing, which is to go first. In moments like this, steal the moment. The moments add up into minutes, which add up into rounds, which add up to the contest. We have a new moment right here. They're separated, they're stalking each other. Somebody is going to go first. And this time it's Spoon.
Another big shot from Archuleta. Bellator stands with those affected by the fires in California. Home of Juan Archuleta now. And you can support those impacted. Visit musicforrelief.org/fire. Images that just boggle the mind when you stare at them, especially in this age of videos. Anything you can do to help.
Spoon doing a very good job with some kicks. Oh, there, Archuleta caught him again.
It's amazing the percentage of these shots that are getting through.
Spoon, as he comes to the collars, he's just trying to pull Archuleta's neck down. What that is doing, it's not an offense, it's not even to set up a submission. It's to just create a lack of separation so that the ground and pound of Archuleta will be less. If Archuleta can get his chest off his opponent, start to elevate his head, that's where the real power of these shots can come. Right here, big, powerful shots from Archuleta.
Steps over a little north-south here along the fence. Sneak the right arm under, considering the options here. Jeremy Spoon's defended himself on the ground. There were a couple of real fight-ending moments in that second round.
Oh, Spoon won't go away. Spoon's no quitter. He's been given that opportunity several times tonight. He's passed on them all. Spoon's here to fight.
Spoon using natural bantamweight, fighting up. You saw the tail of the tape. It came in at 142. He didn't cut at all. Now it looks like that left hand of Spoon is bothering him. Nice. Archuleta gassed a little bit now for the first time. He has been the aggressor.
I think he caught Spoon with a body shot there. Yeah, Spoon bent over.
A body kick.
But he thought twice about it. Thought, no, I'm going to do a little more. Here's the thing with Archuleta. I mean, he's just so dynamic. We talk about his corner. We talk about Cub Swanson and TJ Dillashaw. But they're fine examples, right? The nut doesn't fall far from the tree. What those guys do so well and what Archuleta has stolen from is he'll kick you in the leg to set up a punch to the head. He'll lock around your body to set up a double leg takedown. He's just constantly making you guess. He's constantly annoying you, bothering you, and putting you on the defense. When you're on the defense, you don't have to worry about the guy beating you. If you can keep him defensive the whole time, his offense is shut down.
What's interesting is that when you talk to people about Archuleta, they describe him as a brilliant chain wrestler, and he's becoming a chain MMA fighter that way. Almost the same mindset.
The work ethic, though, the hours that go into the gym in preparation to have this level of fitness, this level of cardio and ability to push really is something that a guy like Archuleta deserves credit for. This is a disciplined, focused, hungry athlete. Three things that Scott Coker loves to see.
Multi-dimensional in his game and multi-dimensional, as we said, in terms of his weight class, which could open up some opportunities sooner rather than later. Take that with you after we break the clinch here.
Spoon did everything right. Spoon did everything right there, but Archuleta threw a punch on the way out and hurt him.
Archuleta, he is not content. This is going to be a dominant, easy victory, but he's going for the finish here in the last 30 seconds.
You bring up Darian Caldwell. You talk about Pitbull. If they are at home and watching this and knowing what could well be in their near future, in their 2019, I assure you they are not worried about the punches and the kicks and the wrestling. They're talking and focusing on this level of output. It is the intangible. It is something you cannot prepare for, and it is very intimidating by Archuleta.
One-way traffic.
Right here, look at these body shots. He's just ripping to the body to come right back upstairs. Hits Spoon, fakes him, comes right down. Boom, boom to each side. Then he comes right back up top. Look at this body shot, just chopping him down. Chopping him down just like a tree. A lot of little bites all night long.
Juan Archuleta about to go to 21-1. We'll make it official when we return. Impressive performance for Juan Archuleta, just the latest in a series against the veteran here, Jeremy Spoon. Michael C. Williams will make it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go to your three judges at cage side. Your first judge, Dan Mathieson, scores the fight 30-25. While judges Jacob Montalvo and Don Turnage both see the fight the same, 30-26. All have it for the winner by unanimous decision, Juan the Spaniard Archuleta.
16 straight wins, 21-1. Juan Archuleta closing in at the top of maybe 2 divisions. And he is standing by with Chael Sonnen.
I'm here with the winner. Congratulations, Juan Archuleta. Juan, I got to ask you a personal question. What else do you need to do to get a title shot?
I'm telling you, man, I'm on the road to El Dorado right now, and the gold's inside. It's in my blood. I'm a conquistador. Spanish blood in me. We don't stop until we conquer. Every division, every gold we see, it's in our sight, and we're on the road to El Dorado, Chael.
I think we will leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Juan Archuleta.
A lot of buzz in the women's flyweight division. About to have the latest chapters. We check out the tail of the tape between Christina Williams and Bruna Ellen.
And Sean, take a look at the age here. We've got 2 young ladies. Yes, I will admit that. But also, if you were to look at what the experts say about prime for athletes going up to about 33 years old, I think that the best days of both of these competitors perhaps are still in front of them.
To Michael C. Williams.
Live on Paramount Network, Bellator MMA now features flyweights set for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing the blue corner. At 5'4", weighing in 125.8 pounds. Her professional record, 4 wins, just 1 defeat. Fighting out of Campinas, São Paulo, Brazil, presenting Bruna Ellen. And across the cage, her adversary, fighting out of the red corner. At 5'8", weighing in 125.6 pounds. As a professional, she stands at 2-1. She fights out of Edmond, Oklahoma. Introducing Christina Warhorse Williams. In charge of the action, your referee, Mike Beltran.
All right, ladies, first round. Ready to fight? Ready to fight? Count, let's go.
Fight Clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Christina Williams with the red gloves. Her professional debut. Unforgettable TKO of Heather Hardy. Those leg kicks just blasting Heather Hardy. It was a bloodbath, and that sort of put her on the scene. When Bruna Ellen couldn't fight Valerie Letourneau, Christina Williams stepped in, lost that unanimous decision. That's why Valerie Letourneau will fight Alima Lay McFarland in a couple of weeks in a white. Good shot for Bruna Ellen, who's just become so much more aggressive.
Actually, very talented. She was able to land that shot. She's got to get inside. That's kind of the story of this fight. Is she going to be able to get inside? Is she going to be able to use some of that Muay Thai? And I'm talking about specifically the elbows and the knees from the clinch. Or is Christina Williams going to keep her at bay? So far, Ellen's passing that test.
Bruna Ellen's background, Kung Fu. Sanshu, 2-time Brazilian national Kung Fu champion.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing. That's a thing. That's not a place, Brazil is not a place you think of where everybody's Kung Fu fighting, but that was her entry into the sport.
Good movement by Bruna. She goes left, she goes right. Lateral movement is very hard for athletes. It's easy to talk about as announcers, but it's very hard to actually circle left and then stop and circle right and do it with fluidity.
What opened my eyes in the Vita Ortega fight for Bruna Ellen, you're talking about an athlete's peak. It's an interesting sort of inadvertent sexist thing that we do when we talk about young male fighters saying, well, he's getting his grown man strength, you know, at 22, 20.
Sure.
When I watched Bruna Ellen's fight, that was what it looked like. She was getting her grown woman strength in that fight.
Yes, and you're right, though. It is a very real thing, and that does come with staying alive. It comes with maturity. There is a peak there. There's a time in your life where human beings, sadly, we don't get better with age, but it's not always true. In your youth, we do.
She doubled up. Christina Williams doubled up on that front kick and caught Bruna Ellen with that second one.
Look, everything so far is very consistent with a Christina Williams fight. She generally takes some shots early. She generally has to plod in there a little bit. She generally struggles for the first couple of minutes to find her range. I think we're seeing some of that now. The big question, will she ever find that range? Will she ever be able to find the target? And I will tell you, if Bruna Ellen keeps moving left and then to the right like she's doing now, that's a very hard clock to solve timing-wise.
Trying those combinations and stepping out. You see the reach, particularly when it comes to the legs. Only a 2-inch reach advantage, but that's measuring arms. And obviously Christina Williams, much of her offense comes from those legs. Just ask Heather Harding.
Yes, Christina Williams is anything but intimidating at first, but once she finds her rhythm. I mean, you remember greats like Anderson Silva. Didn't always look impressive at first, but then he would find that rhythm. I argue for you that's what Christina Williams is using those first few minutes to do.
Led with the left that time. Coming in full force. What do you consider your best fight? Because when you say Anderson Silva, everybody remembers 4 dominant rounds against a guy nobody had ever dominated.
Well, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of people saw that. As far as an athletic performance, I fought on an undercard against Yushin Okami that I personally felt like physically that was where I would like to be.
Usually everybody, you know, a fan or an announcer watching, and we're going to have our own opinion, but that's what you only know. Whatever it is you do for a living, you know when you're at your peak and when you've really nailed it.
That's right. And sometimes it will even come in defeat. Sometimes you won't even get your hand raised, but you come out of it and go, that's the way I like to compete.
First time we saw Bruna Ellen was against Jessica Middleton in a fight that put kind of Jessica Middleton on the map because Bruna Ellen was getting all the attention as a Bellator signee. Bruna Ellen just wasn't ready, wasn't physically right, 19 years old at the time. It's been a good round controlling distance for Christina Williams.
Yeah, that's right. Look, if Bruna can keep moving left and right, and the reason I keep going back to that is sometimes an athlete, she's having great success with it, but if she doesn't know that that's what's making her so hard to hit, if she gets complacent and stands in front of Christina Williams, I don't think that Christina's going to be throwing quite so many air balls. I think she's going to start to connect, and that's just from seeing all of Christina's fights, and even though she's had 3, I have happened to call all of them, and I just know very well it takes her a little bit of time to find her rhythm. Bruna in here tight now. Now don't forget, most people would look to wrestle from here. I believe that Ellen is trying to set up elbows.
Pretty interesting back and forth first round. An increasingly interesting division. Often asked the question in trying to decide a close round, who would you rather be at the end of the round? And that damage that Bruna Ellen took probably gave you an indication.
Yes, some big shots. You know, I thought overall, I thought that she won the round. I thought that Bruna was just a little bit busier, and I also thought that she controlled the action. She was the one coming in and breaking apart. But as far as power shots and damage, I think judges also need to look at that, and that would favor Williams.
It's hard not to be influenced by that. Walking to her left. Again, following up with a kick. And Christina Williams, she uses her kicks almost like punches.
Yeah, she sure does.
In combinations.
That's right, and she'll go anywhere. She doesn't just go to the legs or the head. She'll also go right for the breadbasket, right to the body.
I find that sweet spot, the distance that they're both trying to figure out. Bruna Ellen trying to stay safe, almost needs to be closer.
The breadbasket. Where did I steal that? That's somebody else's line. It says breadbasket.
Especially here when everybody's cutting weight to make it's the worst, you know.
Well, it's a weird thing to say. I think I'm going to keep it though. Again, Bruna just doing such a good job with her movement. I do fear that that's going to slow down. I mean, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of running. It takes a lot of jump roping. It takes a lot of shadow boxing. It takes a lot of discipline. If she can keep doing this, though, if she can hold that up, I think it's going to be better for her.
We saw a great movement earlier today from Daniel Weichel, but he ended up losing a split decision to Goichi Yamauchi. Now tomorrow, note the start time, tomorrow afternoon, Alessio Legionarius Sakaro, Get Kapanen in Genoa. We're about to see a David Rickles walkout tonight, which is pretty spectacular in and of itself. But Alessio Sakaro fighting at home in Italy, that's hard to replicate.
Good leg kick there.
And a reminder, not just doing that, not doing, hell, Grandy, don't do the hype thing again. I promise you, a fight, if you're a Bellator fan, you have been waiting years to hear is official, and we're going to tell you about it coming up. That was understated, right? That wasn't over the top. I mean, and you know what's coming, so you know I'm right.
That's why I have to just remain silent. It's like when I see a movie and then somebody wants me to give them a review of it that wants to go see it. It's like, no, just talk to me after you've seen it. I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but I can't say anything else because I could ruin it. You can't trust old Chael with a secret. Telegram, telegraph, or tell a fighter. The word's going to get out.
Jim Cornette was the first one I heard use that. I loved it then and I love it now.
Bread basket.
Now Bruna Ellen paying the price for coming in close again. So you're right. Her movement has been very good, but there's still something she hasn't quite solved. Bruna Ellen hasn't really done her. The movement has been good. But the damage, she hasn't really done damage or had any sustained offense.
And Kat does just enough to throw her off her rhythm. Yep. Bruna gives a flinch, Kat throws a jab out, makes her reset. And you have all these little moments. These little moments are what make the rounds which turn into a fight.
Two significant fights coming up later on. And David Rickles' walkout is usually followed by a knockout one way or the other. You always remember the David Rickles performances, that is for sure. And Chidi Njokuani and John Salter, they're out of room. They are both on the ledge, and one of them's about to get pushed off. And again, just like in her debut against Jessica Middleton, this is a true road game. Fighting the Oklahoman. 3 in criminology from Oklahoma. She'll be watching tomorrow, no doubt. Oklahoma, Texas. Big 12 title game. A lot of excitement in this part of the country here. A lot of how about the Cowboys here. Now Bruna Ellen finally uses the opportunity to get the takedown. Now this final minute could be the minute that ends up deciding this fight.
Yeah, Ellen does great with those inside leg trips too. You know, she hits that double A, she off balances her opponent. She's always looking to sweep, or what I call a inside trip. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. This one worked, but it's still a beautiful and high-level technique. Credit to Ellen. All right, Christina's able to get that distance back to her feet. A lot of energy used there by Ellen. If Christina can take advantage here, she might have a little bit of a fatigued opponent standing in front of her.
Bruna Ellen has done a good job staying out of harm's way, but she hasn't been able to get inside. With the exception of that one takedown. She ate that one. This one has been interesting. It's going to come down to round 3.
Oh, good jab to close that out by Christina Williams.
Ready to fight? You ready to fight? Pound, let's go.
Bruna Ellen, most of that damage you're looking at, she took in the first round. But I thought Christina Williams was better in the second round than she was in the first.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is a really tough one to call. I do got to give Bruna Ellen a lot of credit for her movement. She is in many ways leading this dance, and that matters. When you're getting into the psychology of a judge, they do want to see who is causing the fight to happen.
We saw some unusual decisions. We saw a split decision on the prelims tonight in which 2 judges went 30-27 the opposite way in the Yamauchi Daniel Weichel fight. Bruna Ellen trying to change levels, but she's had a lot of difficulty getting Christina Williams down to the ground.
This is where Ellen is very good. Again, she doesn't always try to wrestle from here. It looks like she's going to set up takedowns, but she will release her lock and then use one of those free hands to bring elbows up to the face. She's very good with it. Christina Williams, I think, knows that. I think she's watched some videos. She's trying to tie these hands up herself, starting to protect her head, try to hide it. Dig inside and see if she can break this position.
When we are done here on Paramount, head back over to the zone. See Gerald Harris, Daniel Carey, fun fighter to watch. Great fights earlier tonight. Joe Schilling getting a win. I mentioned Yamauchi. Chris Honeycutt lost a very close barrel split decision to both Chael and I saw the other way to Costello Van Steenis. A lot of interesting names. 185 and a 205. A name to watch is Jordan Young, going 10-0 on the prelims tonight.
Let's go, ladies. Let's work.
Who do you like in the Valerie Letourneau-Alima-Lei fight?
Yeah,
That's
I
gonna be
know, I know. That's such a hard one. I'm going to get asked that, and I don't know if I'm ready to make a prediction, but I will tell you there is something to fighting at home in a huge fight in Hawaii that I really think Alima-Lei is going to respond well. I don't know that I'm ready to give you a prediction, but I do think we're going to see two very good performances from two fighters that have a lot on the line.
Alima-Lei McFarland has become must-see TV. To watch her rise through the ranks of Bellator. Great fights with Emily Ducote. Christina Williams and Bruna Allen trying to send notice. They want to be next.
Yeah, Scott Coker very early believed in, invested in, and promoted the women. He was very much ahead of that.
And that goes all the way back to Strikeforce. I mean, we're talking about the Gina Carano days, even before Ronda Rousey.
That's right. Well, and Ronda herself, right, was a Scott Coker. But the point is, he has always believed in that division. So it is really no surprise that they're headlining for the first time in Hawaii. Very big deal, very big honor. But it took a lot of people and a lot of years to get to this point. Oh, look at that inside trip. Boy, I just love how she does that.
Yeah.
Now this one backfired. Christina Williams was able to stop the momentum of that freight train. Push it. Oh, and Christina wants it on their feet. I think she could have had some opportunity there. She calls it back up to her feet. Very good technique. Listen, whether that worked or not, very good technique there by Bruna Ellen. The way she changes elevation, gets to the hips, and then sweeps the leg.
This is going to be fascinating if it goes the distance. I think just gauging it, I think you and I see this fight a little differently. I'm not like Ariel here. I'm not going to back down every time you say something. Some polite Canadian.
And nor should you, because every time I say it, it doesn't make it so, no matter what confidence I speak with. Look, we've seen some interesting things happen tonight with the judges, Sean.
No, there's no doubt. And I see the things you're talking about with Bruna Allen. I just don't know if she has accomplished enough offensively to win this fight. I'm sure she broke up a couple of marriages with that Instagram photo the other day, but I don't know if she's done enough to break Christina Williams here.
Christina Williams has an opportunity to just lift her leg up and land a knee. Anytime there's space like that, it doesn't have to be picture perfect, doesn't have to be technical, or just lift it up. Knees hurt. They all hurt.
Another thing this has in common with a lot of the fights we've seen tonight, these close, narrow fights, is that you say, instead of thinking about what's next, you think, well, I wouldn't mind seeing this again. And this one falls under that category. And Allen going for the home run shot. That jump knee, it got through a little bit.
Again, another opportunity. Both ladies have it in this one to just simply lift a knee.
This has been good stuff. It's what are you looking for as a judge that's going to determine who comes out of this one with a win.
Yeah, and
good stuff.
Bruna Ellen not scoring that takedown did not make the life of the judges any easier for that round, Sean.
So your guess is as good as ours. Bruna Ellen and Christina Williams go the distance. We'll find out next. Chael and I don't know who won this fight, but Michael C. Williams does.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the decision, we'll go to your judges' scorecards. Your first judge, Michael Bell, scores it 29-28, while judges Dan Matisse and Don Turnage both see it the same, 30-27. I'll have it for the winner by unanimous decision, Christina Warhorse Williams.
A puzzle that Bruna Ellen could just not figure out. Bruna Ellen at 22 will be back, that I assure you. But Christina Williams, is she the #1 contender now? She's with Chael.
All right, I'm here with your winner, Christina Williams. You know, a bit of an inside joke, but I didn't step on your toe tonight, so I guess we're both due a congratulations, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I got to ask you, you always have a poker face. You always look so composed, but tonight I can see some relief. I can see some excitement in your face. What makes this win extra special?
I've just been working super hard on my takedown defense and movement, and I think I just showed tonight.
All right, looking ahead, Alima-Lei will be defending against Valerie Letourneau. Do you have a comment or a prediction on that upcoming fight?
I think Valerie's a super smart fighter. If it goes to the ground, I think it goes to Alima-Lei.
Always good to talk to you. Always good to see you compete. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Christina Williams.
Let's check out the tail of the tape in the co-main event. David Rickles and Guilherme Bamba.
And when you look at the record of these guys, almost double the experience to Rickles, but I will remind you that Bamba won 2 world championships in competitive jiu-jitsu, so both of these guys know what it's like to be under the lights.
Was a proud member once upon a time of Team Sonnet. To Michael C. Williams.
Bellator MMA now presents tonight's co-main event, 3 5-minute rounds in the welterweight division. And now, live on Paramount Network, we introduce the blue corner. At 6'1", weighing in 168.2 pounds. His professional record, 10 wins, 4 losses. Do Brasil. He fights now out of Los Angeles, California. Guilherme Bamba Vasconcelos. And across the cage, his adversary tonight fights out of the red corner. At 6 foot, weighing in 170 pounds even, the Bellator veteran stands with 19 professional victories, 5 defeats. Fighting out of Derby, Kansas, introducing the caveman, David Rickles. In charge of the action, your referee, Jaron Lowell.
On my cue, gentlemen. Fighter, fighter, fight!
Fight Clock brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. One of the things David Rickles has sort of wrestled with, no pun half-heartedly intended over the years, is where to train, because he has built a great team in Kansas at home. For the Michael Chandler fight a few years ago at Vengeance in St. Louis, he meandered away from his home territory for the first time. That's a great dilemma for fighters, especially as you get older and you have a family. Do you want to have a full fight camp somewhere else, even if it means maybe better coaching?
Yeah, sure, and to each his own on that, right? Some guys have to go away to find that training. Some guys bring the talent to them. I want to tell you this, though, Sean. I never got to talk to Rickles before this fight. I tried to seek him out. I just happened to fail. I did have dinner last night, though, with Bamba. Make no mistake of his game plan. He believes that Rickles can go with him, punches for kicks. He believes that Rickles can go with him on the grappling, but where he thinks he has the advantage is that he can push the pace, take Rickles to what the kids like to call the deep waters, which simply means get him tired, fatigue him, grind him down, and win by TKO.
David Rickles fights, he has dominated, quote-unquote, lesser competition. Very aggressive. He's fought so many times at home. He is the closest thing in this fight to a home fighter. Here from Kansas, but he fought so many times right near home. The building would be electric. And he had to go fight Michael Chandler in St. Louis. Fought MVP in London. Just joining us, it is official. Michael Venom Page and Paul Daly, finally. It will take place February at Mohegan Sun. I know there's a lot of conversation on the interwebs there about the fight not taking place in the UK. We get it. There's a reason for everything. I promise you, everybody will see it. Everybody will be watching. Rickles taken out by a little leg sweep.
Yeah, a little leg kick there by Bamba.
Not enough.
Seemed to sweep him. Now, Bamba, even being a 2-time world jiu-jitsu champion, does not want to be on bottom. When you start to add the strikes, when you start to add the experience of Rickles, while maybe not as decorated, it's still not a position that Bamba wants to be in. He scrambles back up to his feet. Good shots here by Rickles. He really is with those hands tonight. He's had some real thudding punches. Good straight by Bamba. Rickles doing a good job with his head movement as well. When he's not moving his feet, he's moving his head. There's never a still target, making it a little difficult for Bamba to quite get a read on him.
Got your bags packed for Hawaii coming up in a couple of weeks.
Can you believe that? Send Don't Jail out to Hawaii, they're going to call it a job. I've been fooling Scott Coker from the beginning, haven't I?
Now Rickles with a counter. This is not where Bamba wants to be.
Good flurry there by Rickles.
Set up these shots. Now the jump knee from Rickles. This is a great 30-second stretch here for David Rickles.
I like that march step, where a guy does a march step throwing the punches, kind of old school Vitor Belfort, if you'll remember. But it's a very fun combination. Bamba was lucky to circle off and ultimately survive that.
Again, judges looking for sort of a signature moment in a fairly even back and forth round. And that so far is the signature moment.
And this is not where Rickles wants to be. The big heavy guy on top here. Rickles has his legs inside. If he can post the soles of his feet on the hips or the upper thighs of Bamba, he can actually kick him away. But when his feet are showing to us, it means they're not on the hips. It's going to be a little help if we get that movement. Good explosion there. Now Bamba needs to clear out of this. There he goes. Don't want to be in that tie clinch. Bamba's #1 training partner of Joe Schilling, who we saw fight earlier tonight, Relevance Beam. He's had plenty of time to work on the tie clinch.
Joe Schilling used that and everything else in the arsenal. Scoring TKO at the end of the first round. 5 punishing minutes. Best Joe Schilling has looked in the Bellator cage. There is stitch him up. Boy, talk about living up to your name tonight, as he was dominant in a bloodbath. First round win over Will Morris, who, to his credit, did not quit. Suffering his first loss, he took a beating for 5 minutes. Joe Schilling looked very, very strong. Back fist attempt by Rickles.
Got good activity here from both guys. I will just tell you, if Bamba is going to stick with his initial premise, which was to bring a pace that Rickles simply can't stand up to, Bamba is going to need to do more. This pace is not going to break a veteran like Rickles.
Unprecedented 21st appearance in the Bellator cage for the caveman David Rickles. He was the better fighter in round 1.
Ready, gentlemen? Fight!
And by the way, I don't know if that's actually true at everything in life. By the way. But in a cage fight,
Absolutely.
I will stand by the statement.
Anywhere where someone is going to punch you in the mouth, if you don't punch them first, it's probably a good.
There you go.
10-9, Dave Rickles, round 1.
Oh yeah, just a little busier, a little bit more effective. Bamba did have that takedown and top control, but I don't think he did enough with it. I preface it with that because I've seen some very interesting things happen tonight when it goes to the cards.
We had the Weichel Yamauchi split decision, which was the third judge had it 29-28 for Goichi. A very impressive win for him, but the other 2 judges had it 30-27, each seeing the same fight the opposite way. That was part of the most loaded prelim card in Bellator history.
Ever.
And we're not done. Because when we're done, Gerald Harris, it's no joke. Daniel Carey coming up later on. Talked about Joe Schilling and his impressive win. Sean Bunch knocking out Joe Warren, just unleashing a flurry of shots in the opening couple of minutes of that fight. A fight that ended in 1:42 seconds. Jordan Young went to 10-0. On the main card tonight, we've seen Juan Archuleta win his 16th straight. Still to come, the main event, John Salter, Chidi Njokuani. John Salter get inside that reach. Pace is slowed here in round 2.
You're seeing a lot of movements here by Rickles that, Sean, if you go back and watch somebody named MVP, it's what MVP does. Reason that's interesting, MVP just frustrated, defeated, ultimately stopped Rickles. I believe that Rickles said, all right, I will tip my hat to you. You know something I don't, and went and learned from that fight. I'm now seeing him copying some of the techniques that he had such a hard time with in England against MVP, and that is a major compliment and good sign to somebody like Rickles, who in defeat uses that experience to learn.
By the way, now that it is official with Michael Venom Page and Paul Daly in February, Joe, what do you think?
You know, I love the word that you used when you disclosed this to the audience, when you simply said, finally, because that is the one-word reaction that I had as well. Finally, these two are going to figure this out. They're going to have to do it the hard way, but they're going to figure it out.
So who is going to beat MVP and have more? The bigger question, how do you do it? Fernando Gonzalez was probably the closest. Bullied him for a couple of rounds, but again, he didn't really land anything. The MVP, he wasn't that active in that fight, but he's... How do you beat someone that there's nobody similar? David Rickles again coming on strong midway through this round. This is when he had the big flurry in the first round.
And don't forget, MVP is going to be in there with a power that he hasn't had to deal with yet before himself.
Oh, listen, Paul Daly lands that left hook, it doesn't matter who you are.
Yep, forget it. It's curtains. Very active here by Rickles. I mean, I'm really enjoying this contest. It's very much a back and forth battle, but Rickles is just staying one step ahead. Good shot there by Bamba. He's doing everything right if he can stick with this. He needs to get the 2 legs. Rickles sacrificed his position, went for a guillotine. Not probably the best move, and it did cost him position. Bamba moving over to half guard here.
A good amount of time to work. Turn the momentum around here.
This is a great little tussle. Bamba's got an option here. He can scoot Rickles forward, really pin him up against the fence.
When you first saw Bamba, what was the first thing that struck you about him as a fighter?
Well, you know, he's a very rugged guy in front of everything else. I mean, just had a really good work ethic. And when I first saw these guys, I saw them in the practice room, and I saw them working, and I saw a guy that was just hungry and wanted to do it. He had the resume of the jiu-jitsu behind it, but it's going to take more. It's going to take more to get into Bellator. It's going to take more to get on to Paramount. But he was a guy that was aware of that, said, look, I've got a base, but that's all I've got. Let's start from here and let's grow.
Keep working.
Right in there with him.
All right, now Bamba's got him up against the fence. This is a good spot for Bamba if he can build posture. Now elbows become an option. Now starting to move becomes tough for Rickles. I want to tell you this, though. Bamba needs to keep him right here. If Rickles can make a big scoot back and get his head off the fence, but get his back onto it, he can start to gain elevation. And as long as his head's on the fence, he's not going to move.
The question I'd ask is, Bamba got position, but did he do enough with this? He had 90 seconds on top of Rickles here. Did he get anything done in these 90 seconds?
Good posture here by Bamba. It's a good way to finish a round.
Enough to steal it and maybe even this fight headed to round 3.
Good job. Good round, guys.
Pretty intense in the corner of Dave Rickles between rounds 2 and 3. And the message was simple: don't let him take you down. Don't rest. Go over the jab.
Yeah, listen, as intense as the coach wanted to say it, the advice is still spot on. Rickles is having very good moments, particularly with his activity. He's just being a little busier than Bamba on the feet. But if Bamba can drag this down to the ground, he can win this 3rd round the same as I believe he won the 2nd. I am quite confident in telling you we are 1 apiece, which is nothing more fun than a 3rd round when we're 1 apiece.
Even if we aren't, it feels like we are, and it feels like a close fight. Dave Rickles sort of took momentum in those final 2 minutes of the 1st round. Bamba did the same at the end of round 2.
Oh, trade leg kicks.
David Rickles has only lost 1 decision. He is 7-1 going to the cards. Bamba 4 times has been to the cards and has lost all 4.
It's amazing how these guys are getting ideas from one another. Rickles throws a leg kick, so Bamba throws a leg kick. Bamba throws an elbow, so Rickles says, hey, that's a good idea. He throws an elbow.
Now Rickles to see if he can do anything in top position. To the full guard of Bamba. Rickles has 6 submission wins. He can work down here. Rickles actually came in 2 pounds heavier, but watching this fight, it certainly looks tonight like Bamba's the bigger man.
Good scramble there. Good scramble there by Bamba. That's a sign that he is not ready to be done. He is not conceding this fight.
Rickles puts a minute or 2 in the bank there. A very close fight. Still to come, Njokuani and John Salter. And then 2 guys on the ledge main event. One about to get pushed off into the abyss. Increasingly deep middleweight division. Sometimes you don't need the fight clock to know what round it is. If that wasn't on the screen and you just turned this in, you would know these guys were deep into the 3rd round.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, just like Rickles, his coach was telling him in between rounds, do not get taken down. I think the opposite needs to be told to Bamba. Go out there and get a takedown. Bamba's very heavy on top. He's also had success at passing the guard, which is great for pinning and keeping your opponent down. But these takedowns aren't just going to happen. He's going to have to go out and try to get them, and they take a lot of energy. I think that's the one thing that he's lacking right now.
They're both tired right now, but Bamba needs to do something here.
Good shots by Bamba. Elbow back by Rickles.
Control him,
Leading with that left elbow now. Leg kick into a good combination.
Rickles looks a little fresher, he's a little lighter on his feet, but I don't know that he's actually throwing more punches. I mean, it feels like these guys are both really throwing punches and kicks at each other. Rickles for a bit of a takedown. It's an idea that Bamba could really steal.
He was indecisive there, because I think with Dave Rickles, you have to feel if it stayed on the feet, you're in great shape. But here is more of a wild card, and Bamba knows it, and you got to feel like these 90 seconds here, the fight is there for Bamba to steal, but he needs a big finish here. You see the damage that elbow did.
Sean, I'm stunned. Rickles actually elected to go to a closed guard. From a closed guard, your options are basically nil, particularly when you have a two-time world champion on top of you. You're now conceding and giving up time. I don't believe that Rickles has time. I do think that he is winning this round, but I will not be saying that in 60 seconds if he doesn't get up off the bottom and Bamba can start to land some strikes.
Late in the first round, Bamba got it. Late in the second round, Bamba got him down. The question is, could he get any damage done? I'm not sure that he did.
This is a stunning development.
Yeah, it's a really interesting choice. If David Rickles loses this fight, that's going to be a legitimate second guess. I'm not sure he thinks he's going to. He's got some decent elbows in from the bottom.
Look, that could save him. If he can stay busy and Bamba's just laying on top of him, they won't win him the round.
This is a tough, tough fight to score.
Rickles now coming with an overhook, which is another sign that he plans to stay in this position. Now, those elbows are vicious. I won't take that away from Rickles. But I am very surprised that with just over a minute left, I realize we're 15 seconds now, but with just over a minute left, that he elected to concede position.
I'm not sure Rickles didn't outthrow him in those final 90 seconds, even from the bottom. Big flurry of a finish and a fight that's going to be very difficult to call.
Wow.
Good job.
There is only one caveman.
Look at this, some back and forth action. Rickles starts with a sweep here, able to get on top of Bamba. Bamba scrambles right up to the feet, and this was really the story of the fight. This is one of the better fights that I've seen in a meaningful period of time, but both guys were just throwing at one another, neither with quite enough power to put the other down, but there was some grappling exchanges. Both of them ended up on top. This was really a matter of who outworked who, and I believe the answer is Rickles. However, he did concede position for over a minute, and it was the last minute. So that's the last image that the judges have, but what a back and forth battle. Right here is closing out the fight. Closed guard of Rickles, which means he concedes he's going to stay on bottom.
This has 29-28 written all over it. Which way will it go? We'll find out next. Well, let's find out who's going to be popping a bottle. La Chemin du Roi. Michael C. Williams, the official decision of a great fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go now to your judges' scorecards. Your first judge, Jacob Montalvo, scores the fight 30-27, while judges Michael Bell and Don Turnage both see the fight the same, 29-28. All have it for the winner by unanimous decision, David the Caveman Rickles.
Tail the tape in the main event. Huge one at 185.
All right, and what jumps off the page is the reach, and an advantage goes to Chitty. Now, you have to understand, when you have a striker who likes to keep guys at the end of his punches, a lot can be made of reach, but not when it's against a striker who knows how to use it.
It is show me time for these two. It is main event time, which means it's Michael C. Williams time.
Ladies and gentlemen, live on Paramount Network, Bellator MMA from Winstar World Casino and Resort. The time has come for the main event of the evening. 3 5-minute rounds in the middleweight division. Sanctioned by the Chickasaw Nation Office of the Gaming Commissioner, Mr. Scott Colbert. Tonight's main event is brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. And now, first fighting out of the blue corner, at 6'1", weighing in 185.8 pounds, his professional record, 15 wins, 4 losses. Originally from Gardendale, Alabama, he fights out of Wilmington, North Carolina, John Salter. And across the cage, his adversary fights out of the red corner at 6'3", weighing in 185.4 pounds. As a professional, he enters with 18 victories, 5 defeats, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. He hails from Dallas, Texas, introducing Chidi Njokuani. And when the bell rings, the referee in charge of the action, Jason Herzog.
Okay, fighters got under the rules in the back. There were no final questions from you, Blue. There were no final questions from you, Red. Do you want to touch gloves? Do we now? I'm not ready to fight.
Two guys, Chael, not accustomed to being in that main event spot. They wanted to back off and fight and didn't realize they had a little more business to do first. High stakes.
First round, buddy, you ready? Buddy, you ready? Fight!
Fight clock in the main event, brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. John Salter get inside the reach. That is the question that likely will define this main event.
Yeah, it really will. And anytime you've got a grappler versus a striker, if that's how you want to build this fight, the grappler still has got to be able to mix it up a little bit. He can't fire the shots from the outside. He has to be able to get in. He has to be able to get close. That's what we're going to need to see from John Salter. I'd like to see his hands up just a little bit higher if he's going to start to play this game, but I think that him getting off to a leg kick already is a good start.
Seeing John Salter's jiu-jitsu on point, but he was also an NAIA wrestling champion in 2007. Many different incarnations in his career. So many times brought in as that B-side guy as the opponent, and he has spoiled a lot of nights for the A-side. Fight with Lovato was competitive, probably won that first round. Njokuani, when he was running off those wins at welterweight, his toughest opponent was himself trying to make that win. And there comes a point, there is a piece, Chael, that comes with, you know what, I'm not a 170, I'm a 185.
Oh, that's exactly right. How many years and how many different athletes do we have to see fall for the misconception that if I can do well at this weight, I'll do even better down a weight? Yeah. Daniel Cormier, just to ring a bell. Ryan Bader, just to bring you a recent example, have shown us that going up often gives you the advantage.
You just fought at heavyweight, you fought all up and down. It's different when you come up with a wrestling discipline, but a lot of guys aren't coming from that. Chidi Njokuani is not coming from that, where you had to make weight your whole life, and that becomes the game within the game.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's largely an American phenomenon. I will tell you, I get a little nervous to say Chidi. I really do.
What's the worst that could possibly?
But I'm afraid I'm going to say Tom on accident.
The beauty of this gig is that nobody is waiting on the internet for you to make a mistake with their hands over the keyboard.
Sure. I like how Salter's stalking him.
Yep.
I do like that. He's not rushing in, he's taking his time. Right there. Chidi goes to fire a knee, Salter sees that timing and captures the leg. It's very hard in MMA to finish a single. You will see it. You will see Chris Weidman's do it. You'll see John Hendricks do it. But it's very rare. You kind of got to get to both legs. And I think that that's what Salter's best opportunity is going to be. Bring this left arm wide like he's looking to do, get underneath the hips. And now I like that trip.
Nice.
I like that outside leg trip. Great scramble by Chidi. Great scramble by Salter. Salter needs to keep his hips to him, pop his hips, and start to redirect him towards the mat. Get him off the ground, though.
And nice, subtle inside trip. Nice, easy move for John Salter.
Very good. Salter reaches between his legs, starts to push that knee down. That's going to give him some opportunity to settle those hips and start to pin his opponent to the mat. Now he's got some options, Sean. He can look for some ground and pound, elbows specifically. He can look for Kimuras on that far arm like Phil Davis likes to do, but he can also start to advance to mount by pushing the right knee down.
Chitty has not been in this spot very much. He said he lost the fight to Andre Koreshkov, but his wins have been dominant wins, so he hasn't been in this position a lot. And as soon as we are done here on Paramount Network, we're back to the zone. Bonus coverage we just completed earlier tonight. The deepest, by far, best prelim card in Bellator history. Some post limbs coming up, including the veteran Gerald Harris. Tune into the Bellator app as well. So many options. Salter looking to take the back, and he gets the hooks in quickly. And he got that in deep.
Went to full mount. Chitty turned over. Yeah, Salter is deep. He's very deep here. Even if he doesn't come up to the chin, as fresh as he is, he can continue to squeeze. He's going to finish this.
He lost a hook, but he's still very deep.
He won't need it. He's deep enough right here. If he can just keep the pressure, as long as he doesn't get fatigue of his own arms from squeezing.
John Salter has done it again. He has spoiled another party. He won't go away. All John Salter does is spoil parties and win fights.
Now watch this, Sean. There's actually 3 steps here. He gets the side control, he takes the mount, and then he takes the back because Chitty turned over. Not a terrible strategy, a little risky by Chitty, not a terrible strategy, but the problem is Salter was fresh. He was still dry. There was no slipperiness, and all Salter had to do was hold this position. It was only a matter of time.
9th submission win for John Salter, just the 3rd time Chitty Njokuani has been tapped. And John Salter keeps himself very much alive at 185. John Salter does not get paid by the hour. He has still not gone to a decision as a professional, and now has the most submission wins in Bellator middleweight history in just 7 fights inside the Bellator cage. Michael C. Williams makes this one official.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, the tap comes by way of a rear naked choke, officially 4 minutes, 32 seconds into round number 1. The winner by submission, John Salter.
16-4, back on the list, near the top at 185. John Salter taking his congratulations from Chitty Njokuani, standing by with Chael Sonnen.
All right, gentlemen, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but John, congratulations. Chitty just came over and paid you a nice compliment. What did he say?
He just talked about how, you know, he took a change of opponent, and it's a big change from Melvin Manhoff to me. So commend him a lot for taking that kind of change. And he just said, you know, he's worked really hard since he found out it was me to prepare for it. And I felt that. He's fast. He punched me a bunch.
Now listen, you came out, you got the fight to the ground, you advanced position, and ultimately looked for submission. Coming into this contest, did you know that the key to victory was going to be on the ground?
Oh, absolutely. He's longer than me. He's faster than me. I knew I could stand and survive, but I knew I wasn't going to be dominating there. And put him on the ground. I was taking my time. Heard somebody say 1 minute left, and I really didn't want him back up on his feet. So I was like, I got to get this finish.
All right, Scott Coker and Mike Kogan are watching this. They're in Italy. But would you like to tell them who you would like to face next?
You know, I don't have anybody in mind right now. I took that loss to Lovato. He's a stud. He's fighting for the title. I got to keep proving myself to get back to that point. And so right now, whoever they put in front of me. But if you go back to Italy, you know, I'll go again.
I wouldn't blame you. I'll go along with you. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to your victor, John Salter.